Good to see you, everyone. My name is Robbie Howell, and it's time for another mission. I got sick last Enclave Day, as is becoming tradition, and so we are doing a catch-up mission that I've chosen to record. I got some really exciting focus words for this one, but first, let us introduce our players. If you guys, Julian, then Reece, can briefly introduce yourselves, and at the same time as you introduce yourselves, briefly overview your characters, that would be grand. Fire away.
No order. Guess I'll start. I am Julian. I've been on a lot of these, as far as I can tell. I'm also a lot on this server, so if you ever come here, we will probably meet at some point. But yeah, I will be playing Taylor today, who has been also on a shocking lot of recorded missions recently. He's a witch hunter, though more of a modern government bureaucrat type. Like an agent than the traditional zealous religious warrior.
Marvelous.
Okay, and my name is Reece. I've been on a few of these and been playing Enclave for a while. Like Julian, I'm pretty active on the server. My character today is Prokopios, who is a Bogatyr, a PCC designed by Tomasz here on the server. And a character that I have not played since like October, I think, and the before then, the last time I played him was April. So yeah, he doesn't see a lot of use, but playing him today.
Yeah, he's a back pocket sort of character. I'm excited for him though, and I think he'll be a good fit for this session. The focus words that I got were as follows: 1, Magnolia Horseman's Undersecretary; 2, hip to be square; and 3, Sic Semper Tyrannis. These 3 focus words happened to fit perfectly into a long-standing established setting and plotline that I have been following with another player on the server, Captain, for, I'd say at this point, going on 7-ish years. And as such, we are going to the questing realms, a high fantasy, medieval-ish land full of knights and lords and ladies, but that has a lot of texture and history to it. You guys, however, don't have to worry about most of that history. Instead, you are going to be focusing in on predominantly the struggles of one man, that being King Chet. King Chet of the Questing Realms came to power only a couple decades ago, found as a street urchin and realized to have a direct line of lineage to the kings of old, lost for hundreds of years. Now, Chet is a popular ruler, the first true king the Questing Realms has had in some time. He's known for being kind and generous, and also refusing to hurt people, even when his own life is threatened. He has maybe not an absolutist moral compass, but some severe traumas that happened to him in the infancy of his kingship have given him very strong opinions about not wanting to harm. Another thing that he has very strong opinions about is marriage, and his like inner circle has been trying to like nudge him into a political marriage for years at this point, and he has refused it all, not wanting to do such a thing for reasons besides his own sentimentality and emotions. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't humor his inner circle, and that's where we join him today, out riding with the oldest granddaughter of a major political rival, Duke Adelcrin, who actually is one of the people who has rebelled against the king. So King Chet's inner circle has hoped that by marrying Chet to the granddaughter of Adelcrin, they can nip this little problem in the bud. However, during this little ride, Chet completely outright rejected her advances, though politely, and in return, the granddaughter, whose name is Lady Lina Adelcrin, had her retainers jump him, having planned this in advance in case he rejected her. He obviously had a small handful of retainers on side, but they were completely overwhelmed, given that the Adelcrins also had a mercenary band in the woods waiting to support the potential assassination. As such, King Chet is badly wounded. and his top retainer, who was out riding with him, the legendary Sir Gurness, is completely occupied keeping the king alive with his own magic. This leaves 2 retainers to defend Chet against Lady Lina's 2, who are more elite than they, as well as this like swarm of mercenaries who are flooding out of the woods, and more of whom are coming. This is a hopeless situation, and Lady Lina herself has, of course, frittered away, not wanting to be directly a part of this whole thing, but coordinating it from just outside of the line of fire. Your goal is to hold off or drive away the Adelcrin forces and /or get Chet to safety alive. One major note about the questing realms is that all knights, namely Chet, his retainers, Lady Lina's retainers, not Lady Lina herself, she is not a knight, all have mounts, and they are deeply bonded to these mounts. These mounts are called farers, and many farers are as strong as the knights who ride them. King Chet's own farer has been badly hurt, as well as him. His farer is winged, and clearly the assassins determined that letting a large, very capable winged mount just whisk his injured master to safety would not be a good idea. In addition to driving off the Adelcrin forces / getting Chet to safety, if possible, you have a secondary pair of objectives, though these are not nearly as important as the first one. One is apprehend Lady Lina. Do not kill her. Apprehend her. And 2 is apprehend or kill the one of her retainers who actually took the shot against Chet. This being a very gifted knight named Dame Meliphany. The other of Lady Lina's retainers, Sir Davenport, is the main one who is like keeping up the pressure alongside the mercenaries. Both Sir Davenport and Dame Meliphany are 2 of the greatest knights that are in Adelcrin's control. Obviously, I've thrown out a ton of names, but to give a final little bit of setting, this is noon. It is out in a beautiful meadow with large rock formations, woods, and pockets of coppices all around, and is miles away from help. Obviously, they were going out for a beautiful ride. It was supposed to be romantic, and so they're far away from Chet's forces, from Chet's castle, from any such amenities. Questions?
If we're far away from everything, or if they are far away from everything in the middle of a meadow, where were the mercenaries hiding?
That's an excellent question. Like I said, this meadow is heavily wooded, and it is not actually known how the hell they timed it such that the mercenaries were exactly where they needed to be and sprung out exactly when King Chet rejected his suitor. This is not something that the king and his entourage have had time to like ponder, given the absolute like intensity of the situation. But what is known is that Lady Lina Adelcrin is a gifted mage, and the Adelcrins are known for employing mages very heavily. So that is likely something to do with it, and is likely part of the reason why they will continue to get reinforcements and the king will not.
So just to get it straight, we are to hunt the witch and kill the killer, basically.
More important than
killer,
either of those two,
shooter.
save the king. More important than anything else, save the king. And as secondaries, apprehend Lady Lina and apprehend or kill her retainer who actually struck the blow against the king and put him in this great wounded state. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, so you mentioned earlier this Dame Meliphany, or however you pronounce
yes.
that. Yeah, she shot the king, did you say, or struck the king? Like, what weapon was she using?
That's an excellent question. Pardon me. Shot is not the right word. Dame Meliphany is also a mage. There are knightly mages of this realm, and she used some sort of close-ranged, high-power projectile magic. It was like a complete cheap shot to the back of the head. And while the king does have armor and wards and great defenses, that level of power at that close of a range overwhelmed them.
I see.
Any other questions?
I don't think I have any others at the moment.
Excellent. Julian, you got anything else?
I think I'm fine. I'm still very much stuck with why the hell would the Enclave send these two characters? Nothing against Prokopios. Seems more like a Thane e-mission to me, but
Indeed.
we shall manage.
Well, if nothing else, if the Enclave is sending you, it believes you are fit for the job. / there was no one better, but...
I will say, I
has somehow-
can't speak. Yeah, can't
It
speak
has-
for Taylor, but Prokopios definitely believes that the reason the Enclave is sending him is because there's no one better suited to it. That's for sure.
And in that case,
yeah.
Let us go to assembly. The two of you brought together in one of the Enclave's beautifully furnished rooms, decorated only in shades of gray. There is a faceless attendant there for questions. There are 2 gleaming telepads in the corner of the room, and you enter simultaneously. Let's do Taylor and then Prokopios, a brief physical description, and first actions upon entering assembly.
So, Taylor, entering this room, is a somewhat small man, no larger than, say, 5'5". And he's wearing a very long coat that looks like a coat from the distance, but is very much made out of windbreaker material if you get close enough. And yeah, that's probably all you can see besides his head and the cloak right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, really unremarkable. Brown eyes, brown hair, nothing distinct.
Prokopios is a guy who I shall just pop a little image into the chat of for those who are present currently, but I'll also give a brief description. He looks kind of like a sort of Roman gladiator. He's got a few bits and pieces of armor on him, especially around his waist and his forearms and shins. He's also got a helmet that completely covers his face, and he carries a round shield. He is shirtless though, and yeah, he's sort of tan skin, I guess. You can't see any of his facial features because of the helmet completely covers everything except his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I would just step into the room and glance around, see Taylor, give him a nod, and say, I take it it's just us two on this mission then?
I'm afraid the Enclave didn't see fit to send a witch this time. Seems my
Fair enough.
requests have been taken seriously.
Good to hear it, although a witch might actually have been kind of helpful, considering it seems from this mission statement like we're going to be fighting against witches. I'll not say I've never done that. I did do that pretty recently, but, you know, it's not exactly my area of expertise. How about you? Are you any good at fighting witches?
I don't need to fight them. That would be a betrayal of my job, I think.
Right, okay, so you're morally obliged not to fight witches. This could be slightly problematic.
I'm morally obliged not to hurt them, at least. It's against basic decency and human rights, one would say.
Going the capture route then. I see. Well, I suppose we better get on our way before this king ends up dead. Would kind of suck to fail the mission before we even arrived. And I will look around. Does there appear to be an Enclave attendant waiting to take us
in this case, there's an Enclave attendant ready to answer questions, but the telepads are in the room.
Okay.
Will Prokopios make his way over to a telepad?
Yes, I will start making my way across to one. Yeah.
And
If
Taylor,
even
final
the
minutes.
Enclave sees fit to hurry us, I shall oblige.
And as you take your places atop the telepads, you feel the familiar, unfamiliar feeling of dissociation rising up through your feet, your legs, and when it hits your chest, your hearts flutter, and when it hits your eyes, your vision explodes into ribbons of color and the world falls away. And as quickly as it vanished, the world reforms, and you find yourselves in a beautiful meadow. The wildflowers grow to ankle height. There are great kind of jutting rock formations, well spread out so as to still leave lots of open space, and all of those are carpeted with flowers as well. There's a few small stands of trees, but all the edges of the meadows are heavily rimmed with trees. And you are close to one of these edges, though not so close as to be kind of tucked amidst the trees themselves. Around you, there is a lot of activity. You can see not far, like closest to you, is a great and beautiful animal that is laying on its side, heaving and bleeding. It looks to be, how would I describe it? Pegasus-like, hippogriff-like, but with the face of a great owl and with great, large, feathery owl wings on either side. It is clearly badly harmed and also has a great rack of antlers. Laying next to this great beast, you can see a man in beautiful black and white. An ensign or a coat of arms on his tabard shows a great magnolia tree. And you can see that he has such a bad head wound that his eyes are closed and he is unmoving. And standing over him is a very old man in heavy full plate with a spear planted in the king's forehead, and yet the spear seems to be healing him. Like the spear's magic courses through the king's head, and the old man concentrates, his teeth gritted, sweat pouring down his brow as he fights to keep his king alive with his spear. But not far away, you can hear and see the sounds of combat. You can see two knights are trying to fight one while at the same time contending with foot soldiers. The footmen are mostly coming out of the woods and seem agile and lightly armored, many of them carrying ranged weapons, but also seeming somewhat reluctant to actually go for the king or really heavily fight the knights. The single enemy knight is aboard an enormous mount. It looks, you know what an ankylosaurus looks like, right? If you're familiar with
Right.
the ancient mammal called a glyptodont, it's kind of like that. It's a heavily armored, clearly mammalian, very large creature with like a big spiked tail, right? But the emphasis is the armor. And the knight on its back is carrying an enormous chained flail as well. The two knights who he is facing, both of whom also wear the regalia of the white magnolia tree on a black background. One of whom is riding what looks like a large beaver, though not particularly agile amount. It does seem to be doing rather a good job of felling nearby trees to make an improvised palisade while it fights. And the other one is riding a large, kind of pale cream-colored snake, which is seeming to try to take up most of the attention of the great knight aboard the Glyptodon. With all of this chaos happening under a perfect blue sky with white puffy clouds, immediate actions upon porting in, beginning with Taylor.
So the king seems safe for now. Like
Stable.
there's battle in not that far a distance.
Yes,
But it's
exactly.
not here yet.
The beaver riding knight seems to be like felling trees to like create an improvised palisade to protect the king as well.
I think Taylor's gonna watch for now.
Where's he going to position himself? Is he going to remain kind of in front of the king and his fallen mount, or is he going to move elsewhere?
I think like there is some sort of woods surrounding us right now.
Yes, you
I
are
think he would
reasonably
want to
close. You're
move to
actually
those.
quite close to the woods. Close enough that the beaver can easily take down trees and like hurl them a short distance.
And then he would like to hide in those for now.
As Taylor creeps to the woods, Prokopios, immediate actions.
Yeah, so I should have probably mentioned there's another couple of things about Prokopios' description. One of them is that, well, both of them are his weapons. So he is wielding an ear spoon, which is basically a sort of spear, and a smaller kind of one-handed kanabo, which is like a club with metal studs in it.
Mm.
I also have images for those, but at the moment the club will be on his belt. And he will be holding the spear. And it is good that I have a spear because big monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are there? You mentioned mercenaries earlier. Or where exactly are the mercenaries here at the moment?
Yes, they are the foot soldiers who seem to be kind of working in the wings of the great Glyptodon riding knight. You can see, just at a brief head count, there's probably over a dozen. Lightly armored, fast, many of whom are wielding ranged weapons, but they do seem hesitant, like they're staying mostly away from the battling knights and aren't taking pot shots at them or the king, at least not yet.
I see. Okay. Well, in that case, I think that I will just head. Yeah, I'll just head like for them, but not actually engage them yet. Just sort of posturing, kind of similar to what they're doing, I suppose. Standing to the side of our. Wait a minute, actually. One of our guys he is doing the healing, and the other one is doing the palisade building.
Tree felling, but then there's a third on a snake
Right.
who is fighting the enemy knight.
Right, brilliant. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just stand off to the side of our snake rider.
Yep.
And try and dissuade the mercenaries from getting involved, basically. Make it look like I'm there to back him up if need be.
Totally. Are you like moving out quickly or just kind of like swaggering your way out? I'm kind of guessing the latter.
Yeah, very much swagger. As I said, holding a spear in one hand, and shielding on his left arm, spear in his right hand, and at the moment, I guess my shield would just be down at my side, but I am ready to raise it if anyone starts aiming any ranged weapons towards me.
Totally. And you can see that as you like are starting to make your way in, the mercenaries quickly change formations. They clearly have a lot of experience with like maneuvering and maybe hunting or skirmishing or something, and yet they still refuse to shoot, with most of them looking towards the injured king. As you're starting to get closer, you see a couple of their eyes shift to you. They're dressed very differently from the knights and look like maybe they're from a different part of the kingdom or from a dramatically different socioeconomic bracket, maybe both. And you can see that as you're getting like a little bit closer, one of them does like kind of like twang his bow kind of in your direction, but you can tell before he even shoots it's not going to hit. It just kind of like lands in the dirt maybe 20 paces in front of you. Kind of like a warning shot, but a soft warning shot. What do you want to do?
And you said that it looked like they had experience with maneuvers and such.
Yeah, they're moving together in a very coordinated manner, kind of like fox hunters, you know.
Right. Okay. I get it. So in that case, I will call out to them. Peasants, I'm sure you thought this job would be easy money. Just back up a couple of nights, stand around, and collect a big payday at the end. But I'm here to tell you now that King What's-His-Face over there has powerful friends that you would do well not to upset, and regicide is a very serious crime.
The word peasants does earn you an arrow shot more directed towards you, but you have your shield ready for that.
Yes.
To check vitality.
Yeah, vitality. Let me just double check. It is, yeah, just one, unfortunately.
Yeah. In that case, is your shield common? I believe it's common, right?
The shield
Common
is
dumb.
yes, just
Yeah,
a common item.
exactly.
That one, yeah.
In that case, as your shield kind of clongs the arrow off, it and you kind of finish your line. You hear one of them yell out, "The king has no authority over us, sir."
Oh God! Once again, I really wish I was playing Hassad. No, I just will. I guess I'll just shout back then. For someone who thinks he has no authority, you sure are hesitating an awful lot to actually do anything. Seems like you're pretty impressed by his authority to me.
And you can see that the man who called to you kind of changes places fluidly with another of the crew, who again, like, not trying to hide or anything, just kind of like shoots an arrow like clean towards your face.
If it's clean towards my face, I'm not even going to block it with my shield, because my shield is a common item, but
Yep.
my helmet is definitely not.
In
So
that
I will
case,
headbutt the arrow out of the air.
it just like clangs off your helmet, not even leaving a scratch. You can see that the guy who shot it actually like takes a step back, like, oh, we got a fucking like Mr. Big over here.
Yeah.
But as you do this, what do you want to do?
I just want to say that the one of the Bogator's items is called the Vishivanka, and it is normally a linen tunic. In my case, it's his sort of like kind of loincloth type thing he wears around his waist.
Yeah.
But the effect is normally that the tunic would be embroidered with images of great deeds that you have done. In this case, for Prokopios, the great deeds take the form of tattoos along his chest.
Oh, that's so cool.
I would like to get a tattoo of myself headbutting an arrow.
That's actually sick. The Vishivanka has another effect as well. Would you care to read it out?
Yes. So, let me just double check. Oh yeah, it makes me more approachable and trustworthy to common folk. Also, that's kind of probably not super helpful, because I'm kind of counteracting it by referring to them as peasants, but you know. But yeah, any of these things that are these magical tattoos are subconsciously conveyed to observers with far greater perceived impressiveness. Yeah. So basically, the fact that I have a tattoo of myself headbutting an arrow now makes it even more impressive that I headbutted an arrow.
Exactly. And as the guy kind of steps back and they again kind of like change their position, you see a couple of them even like get down low into the meadow to try to like start to like maybe move in such a way that you can't see them quite as easily, given that again it's a rolling meadow. So even though the flowers aren't very high, they can get behind like little rises and bits of elevation. You can see that another one calls out to you over, says, "Your voice, your armor, you are no knight. The king may have powerful friends across the sea, but what are those powerful friends doing here meddling in our land, like with everyone else?"
What we're doing here is preventing regicide. Like, literally, you're about to kill a king. That's a very serious crime.
I struck not the blow.
True. If you would like to leave, if you would like to just clear the area, then your assistance shall be forgotten. I'll speak to the king on your behalf, and we need not worry about this any further.
And
the perpetrators shall be dealt with.
As you say this, you hear a great booming voice from up on the Glyptodon. "Take not a step back, you cowardly thresholders!" The knight, with his enormous flail, like taking huge swinging sweeps down towards the snake rider, who is barely dodging the attacks, has paused in his onslaught to make sure his mercenaries don't bolt. He stands high on his mount, which is like the size of a cottage. It's freaking huge.
Wow.
And as he kind of like stares furiously back over his men, he's obviously wearing completely different regalia, no Magnolia tree for him. He looks to you and says, "And as for you, you insolent interloper, I'll crush you into the dust when I'm done with this one."
Somehow I doubt it. I'm actually honestly even less concerned by you than by these guys.
And you can see that he, at this point, is going for another swing and actually stops. He says, "Oh ho! Should that be the case?" And he like he gives like a couple of taps with his foot, and his mount starts to like shift itself around like a tank. You immediately notice how slow moving this thing is. It is
nice.
It has a top speed probably less than yours. And as it is shifting, you can see that the Snake Knight starts to immediately like get low into the meadow grass and start to try to cut wide around him. Before we go further, though, Taylor, as you slink your way into the woods, seeing the Beaver Knight like busily ripping up trees, as he is doing so, however, you can see that the Beaver Knight, who has like a crossbow in hand, is firing off like whistling quarrels into the woods. You hear him even call out, "I see you out there, Thresholders. Not a step closer to my good king, or I will plant one of these between your eyes. If I can see you." What would you like to do, Taylor?
Does Taylor see anybody else besides him?
Yes. Actually, you have at least one sensory. What's your sensory stat?
Yes, just one.
Yeah. In that case, you would see the shifting movements as they're being called, the Thresholders, kind of shifting between trees. They are just observing them for the moment. They are clearly very adept at these sort of like woodland style skirmishing situations.
All right. First things first. I would like to use a Moriori to smell for fear specifically.
And as you do so, you smell. It's not a strong scent. It's not overpowering, and it's not localized to a single source, but from the direction of the Thresholders, and more faintly from the meadow, you can feel it's less of an intense fear and more of an unease.
All right, good. And then Shada is going to try and sneak around a bit, trying to get close to the Thresholders who are in the woods.
And as you are doing so, reflex stat?
1 sec. Need to scroll back up. No reflex, 2 skill.
Yep, absolutely. However, you do also have your watch coat. Are you going to be moving slowly enough to try to get the watch coat's stealth effect, at least in part?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yep. And as you start to like slow your movements and make your way into like the sun-dappled woods, sticking to the shadows, you can start to become very, very concealed. As you are like starting to cut this like circle around the Thresholders line, you can see that they once again are not shooting at all. Like they could totally shoot the Beaver Knight from here. They could maybe even get an arrow into the king from here, though it would be a hard shot.
How many of them are there?
At a brief head count, it's kind of hard because they're so quick and good at shifting
Yeah.
around. Less than a dozen, 7 to 8.
Still quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Sure. In the woods specifically.
Yes, or at least in this patch of woods.
Yeah.
As you are making your way around, you are not like on top of them by any means, but you are close enough that you can occasionally hear like snippets of conversation between them. And these snippets of conversation, while usually like very curt, seem to be focusing on two things. One, you hear, "Out into the meadow? No, stay here in the trees." So like these sort of positional things that are always them kind of checking with each other and reassuring each other they need to stay here. Second of all, "Is he dead yet?" As you are coming closer, any other actions you would like to take? And how close do you want to get before you do anything else?
If, like, Taylor's not gonna risk it unnecessarily, but he would like to get close enough to one to touch him.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you trying to get one who is like truly isolated, or are you okay with others being like nearby, in eyesight, in earshot? Like,
yes, I'm very happy with others being at least in eyesight or earshot. by the way.
Absolutely. In that case, you can quite easily get close enough to touch one if you're okay with others being like kind of nearby. You can see that this man doesn't even have a arrow knocked in his bow. He's behind like a heavy fallen tree trunk, standing low, and you can see that he's like kind of fingering the bag at his side, which looks like it has some tools in it. What do you want to do?
Taylor will produce the firebrand from his cloak, and going for a very swift motion, he's gonna just tap him in the back with it.
And the man gives a sharp ha! Ah! And stumbles down face first against the log. What are you going to do immediately after that?
You people here are only forwarding orders, I know. But let me tell you, the last time I was there and I was following orders, my planet got salted.
You can
I
see
know.
that arrows are aimed at you immediately.
This is not your fight, and it is not going to be your fight. I and the others behind me will remember who knocked an arrow against the king and his allies. But none of you will be alive to remember who of us was here.
And as you say that, the man who you jabbed, who's like snarling on the ground, hit by the anger effect, says, "We've been promised immunity by Adelcrin."
Does she even have the power to promise such a thing to you? Is she the king yet? Or her ill-advised grandfather?
Well, he's going to be. He's bound to be. Right?
Have you checked the lineage? Does the heraldry work out on that?
Well, that's why they're doing this crap. Right? Marry him and then that's it.
It's funny you should become a tool of the upper class, as many of my brethren have.
I don't know what upper class you're talking about, boy. He starts hauling himself to his feet. They promised gold.
Can I have all of this, or at least the last line, as basis for cloud of suspicion?
Yeah, absolutely.
The initial one was probably most of a statement, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you want the cloud to start kicking in immediately?
Yes.
Yeah. The mist starts rolling into the woods. And as you do so, the three who are facing you can see a fourth kind of joins them. Like, not with an arrow knocked, but especially now that the others are like, they still have arrows in their bowstrings, but they're like, they're not taut at the moment. You can see that one of them says, "You're just a mouthpiece of the king, I'm sure. We know your kind."
I am
Lots
a
of
mouthpiece
promises.
of no king, and there's no king to give me orders. I'm simply here on a request, and I will tell you, I am getting paid.
Not after the dame dealt with him. He's not going to be giving orders for long.
And he's not giving orders to me anyway.
So what are you proposing we do? Just Scarver? You know that we're in Adelcrin's land. He's going to know who abandoned and who didn't.
Well, I'm not going to suggest anything. You're a fine thinking man, are you not? I'm just going to say that as much as Adelcrin might think she can take over the king's lands and crown, I would suggest the king can do as much and tenfold over.
The four of them look to each other for a moment, and then the one closest to the back gives like a tap on the shoulder of another and says, "Shit, cut the chatter, boys. Falstaff's coming." And the one who, like, you jabbed with the firebrand, who's still massaging his back, says, "I'd recommend you make yourself scarce, Kingsman." He says, "Although, Sir Falstaff's no king killer, but, he's also, well, get out of here." He turns back towards the king's position and, like, re-knocks his bow. The others look nervous and start trying to, like, get back to the improvised firing line they were setting up. Cloud of suspicion continues to pour in.
Yeah. So there is just one aiming like at the king specifically, and the others are spreading out.
The others are spreading out. The one who has an arrow in his bow, again, he's not aiming at the king specifically. He's just kind of indicating that he's pointing his bow in that direction. You know, look like you're doing something.
But none of them are gonna prevent Taylor from passing behind them.
Exactly.
Pretty much. And so he's gonna move on, and he is again trying to fall in with the trees and the foliage.
Absolutely. And you can see a knight coming into the meadow area, though the knight does not wear colors. He has like a more homey, local sort of outfit on. His mount is, again, hippogriff-like, but with a beautiful egret's, like, bird physiognomy. Like, long neck, long, thin, fish-stabbing beak, thin, spindly legs, brilliantly white, and only barely large enough to hold him, it looks like. The man, as he trots in, kind of like rubbing the cheek of his egret hippogriff, you hear him like pretty clearly through the low wind day call out, "I'm not seeing too many arrows fired there, lads." And one of them says, "Be our guest, Falstaff." And you can see Falstaff, who has a bow, says, "Oh, no. You first. I wouldn't dare cut in line." As he kind of like saunters behind them, again, kind of like a captain of a firing line. Any actions you'd like to take? You are kind of beyond Falstaff in the woods, so it's like you, him, firing line, rest of the woods, meadow.
I would like to get closer to him.
Yeah, absolutely. As you do so, you can see that his egret kind of like perks up, clearly hearing you before it sees you. What do you want to do?
Launch forward with the lit up firebrand and try to go for the egret.
Absolutely. As you lunge forward, you can see that the egret immediately responds with like a sideways canter, and Falstaff swings off of its back, kind of between you and it. He clearly hasn't fully seen you yet, he just knows his mount well enough to respond to it. What do you want to do?
Look, Mr. Falstaff, you seem to be a man of your people. I have a proposal for you.
As you are saying this, what are you going to be doing with your firebrand? Holding it to bear, holding it at side, what?
No, I don't think we're going to do animal cruelty for now.
For now. In that case, as like you're starting to say this to Falstaff, you can see that the weapon that he's brought to bear is like a heavy harpoon that he's currently using as a melee weapon. He does have it to bear, though he isn't like jabbing you with it, and he's not close enough to get you unless he did like a full commit lunge. You can see that he's reasonably well armored, but is still kind of lightly armored and looks much more similarly dressed to the thresholders around him. He says, "And who are you? You're not from these parts."
No. And as I told you, man, recently, I have not yet sworn an oath of fealty to your king, nor do I intend to. I'm just
He's not my
a paid
king,
mercenary.
sir.
Sorry?
He's not my king, sir.
Well, he's someone's king. If you believe that damsel's grandfather is yours, then you're well on your way
Adelcrin. He spits on the ground.
So you're a free man then?
We're all free men here. Thresholders are always free. He says,
so
and
why are you then
wait,
raising your
hold
arm?
on a moment. You said you were talking with my men. Is that true? Fraternizing with the enemy, lads.
You just said these were free men. Does that not mean they are free to talk to whoever they choose?
Don't get fresh with me, foreigner.
Oh, I'm gonna get way fresher with you. If you're a free man, why are you raising your arms against the king for the grandfather and this Edelgret you clearly have animosity for?
He says, money talks.
Apparently. Both of us are only here on that basis, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think she's gonna be paying you once my friend over there has dispatched with her 2 knights?
She'd better.
Do you think she's gonna be paying you if I rip you off that steed of yours and brought you to heel?
You can see that his face kind of like hardens. He says, over my dead body.
That can be arranged, though I'm not too fond of it. Again, I'm not paid.
Mm-hmm. He says, quite some heavy threats. He says, especially for a man who looks like he would have trouble fighting a blade of grass.
Well, I've been fighting through these blades of grass, but I don't need to, and I don't want to, and neither very much do you. You just want to get paid, right?
He says,
So
and
if
that's what
I
we're doing
were
right
to
now.
say,
We're getting paid. We're getting paid to not shoot at the king. We love it.
that's all grand then. So Elgren just pays you to make a scene. Is that it?
Well, they didn't specify we had to kill the king, did they?
I see. So you're as much of an opportunist as I am. That's something I shall honor, or at least respect.
I mean, until that Malephony bitch comes back and starts trying to throw her weight around.
Well, we shall deal with that as well. Though, right now I think my man is very much busy taking care of that big one.
Speaking of the big one, Prokopios.
Yeah. So, I have two things to do in quick succession.
Mm-hmm.
First, I shout over to the guy on our side.
Snake Rider?
Oi! Yeah. Oi, Sir Snaky. How about I do you a favour? Your king is in dire need of assistance over there, and there's plenty of other people out to get him. So tell you what, because I'm such a nice guy, I'll stall this big oaf, and I'll let you go on and deal with something else right now. How's that sound?
The knight on the Glyptodon says, "Who are you calling an oaf, pipsqueak?" But the Snake Rider, she calls back to you, "Sir Snaky, is it? I prefer Dame Sheila, thank you very much."
Fair enough then, Dame. In any case, I'm saying that let me think.
Yeah, choose your words.
You needn't concern yourself with this guy any longer. I can stall him for a while. You go check on your boss.
You see her looping
How's
back
that
around
sound?
already, and she says, "If you care to dance with Sir Davenport solo, then be my guest. I've had quite enough of it, thank you."
You're welcome.
But when
I
I have to pull the entirety of your body out of your helmet, I'll make sure that I bury you as best I can. How's that?
Sure. Let's just say you owe me one for buying you some time. If that's how you need to repay me, then I'll be grateful for it.
She says, "Your funeral, Tin Man," as she starts slithering back towards the king. The knight who is bearing down on you, Sir Davenport, has clearly decided his mount is a little too slow and has leapt off of its head onto the ground, swinging his flail wildly.
Okay, so in that case, well, first of all, that was an activation of Friend in Need.
Indeed.
And according to my perk, which I have for Friend in Need, which is called Emblem, normally Friend in Need conjures a mundane item and then later on transforms it into a powerful magical weapon.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, however, because of my perk, until the transformation takes place, the conjured item is instead treated as an addition to my Vishivanka.
Oh, that's so fucking cool. Nice. I like it.
In addition to my tattoo of myself headbutting an arrow, I would also like to get a tattoo on my arm of what looks like, let me think of the best way to describe this, a sword, but it has snake scales running along it, because she rides a snake, and it is, instead of just being like a straight sword, it's curled around my arm.
Nice. That's really cool. Yeah, I completely approve of that. What a great perk.
Awesome.
Nice
We shall see how that pans out later on.
Quite.
But for now, as this guy rushes at me with intent to do harm,
He certainly does.
he is already in the process of helping me out, because I will then be activating trading blows on him. And I would actually say that already, so
You
the
have
paired
already
action for
fulfilled
trade,
the paired action for sure.
yes,
Don't have
is
to justify
normally
it.
to mock someone. So
Yes.
I have already been doing that. So, however, what I would like to say is, specifically because of like the way that I've been mocking him, uh, talking about how big and heavy and slow and all that he is, plus the fact that I know from the mission statement that farers have very like tight bonds with their riders.
Yeah.
I would like to say that should be enough to qualify for an energy work, which would allow me to affect both him and his mount.
A+. Yep. Fully agree.
Excellent. So yeah, in that case, what I'm going to do is when he comes up to me swinging with his weapon. What's his weapon again? Did you
His
say it was
weapon
like a
is like
flail type
an
thing?
enormous flail, but like almost a cartoonishly long flail. You know.
Awesome. So yeah, when he comes up to me with his flail swinging, I'm going to spin my spear round so that it's upside down.
Yep.
Stab the blade into the ground, and then hold out my hand in front of the flail as it comes in. My bare hand, because the armor's around my arms, not my
Yes,
hand.
indeed.
I do not have gauntlets.
The flail comes screaming in, and is this just going to be like a bare hand, like trying to block it?
Yes.
No.
And the way that trading blows works is that it locks the enemy into a harmless duel with you, during which neither party can sustain a serious wound.
Yep.
Damage is dramatically reduced, rarely exceeding scratches and bruises. However, instead, successful blows will proportionately make the target more frustrated and flustered, and saps their dignity, which would normally be a problem. However,
This is a
I
monster of an
have.
attack.
Yes, it is a very big attack, so it would normally have a very big
But you
effect.
have a perk for this.
I do. And moreover, because my Spangen helm, which is the name of the Bogator helmet, is reskinned as like a full helm, basically, it completely covers my face, which means if I get a frustrated expression, he's not going to notice. And on top of that, I also have a plus to will. So if I get particularly frustrated, I can defy it off.
Try to defiance it out. Yep.
Yes.
In that case,
But,
as the blow...
but
Yeah, your perk...
the perk.
Yeah.
Yes. I also have a perk which says that by believably acting unconcerned, which again is what the will's for, after being struck, I can share the blow's mental effects with your opponent, which means that when I get hit, when he gets hit by me, he gets more frustrated and loses dignity. When I get hit by
You
him,
both do.
he also gets more frustrated and loses dignity.
And
Yes.
this blow would be strong enough to just rip your arm off under normal circumstances, without question. But as it
maybe gives me a
slams
scratch.
into your hand, it would actually like leave a bruise, like a visible bruise, maybe a couple of like scratches, like you fell on pavement or something like that.
Yeah.
However, as it hits, and the ball, the chain just kind of goes limp, and just like and like falls to the ground a bit. He actually like stops his charge for a moment with the chain still between his hands, panting and looking on in like complete consternation. I will note, Prokopios would immediately feel like the daggers of frustration entering him.
Yeah.
It was a substantial hit.
Yes. So I do also have a couple. Wait, is it only? Yeah, it's only one at the moment. Point in resilience. That's something. But yeah, no, definitely would have been still very much arm breaking. So as I feel this massive frustration, I literally would get like a snarl on my face
Under your helm.
yeah, under my helmet, and I would be like gritting my teeth on the point of just like spitting in rage, but I stand still for like a solid like second or two and let out my breath and like a hiss between my teeth, but too quietly for him to hear.
Yep.
Then I casually inspect my palm and just say, "Oh, you scratched me. I guess you're stronger than I thought. You can break my skin. That's impressive." Almost.
You can see that his hands are like holding the chain so tight that it is shaking slightly as he whirls it back over his head in like a figure eight and then brings it down clean towards your head and helmet.
I take off my shield and throw it aside.
And as the chain mace smashes into your helmet, it actually is enough to make you step backwards. It's a massive blow. It even makes you like blink and maybe get a little bit dazed. But not enough to, as Dame Sheila implied, Marvin the Martian you all the way into your helmet.
Yes. Yeah. So, after stepping back a little bit from that, I sort of, well, first of all, again, I am overcome by frustration, and if this guy was looking closely at me, which, because he's also frustrated, I imagine
exactly.
he's probably
He has
not,
less ability
he would notice that my fingers are sort of twitching as I force myself not to clench my hands into fists.
Yep.
But again, I just take a deep breath, straighten up, and say, "Oh, I think you helped loosen up my neck. Thank you."
And you hear him give a roar of "Why won't you die?" as he leaps towards you, like rushing up again towards you. And instead of like preparing for a swing, he gets the chain and like goes to like swing it around you.
And this is what I've been waiting for. As he gets close, and as he's leaping towards me, you said, I reach down to my belt and I pluck the Kanabo club from my belt, and I swing at him with an uppercut, aiming to clip him on the bottom of the chin if I can.
Skill stat?
Skill is just the one in that. I do also have 2 reflex, 1 vigor, and 2 might.
Ooh, 2. That's actually a very, very nice stat spread for this. In that case, with his great frustration, he is not ready for you to respond like this. And as you uppercut him, it's like, the way you showed it, it looked almost like a tennis, like, forehand, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And...
Also...
Yeah.
My Kanabo is the reskinned bludgeon.
Yes. And for those watching, what is the bludgeon's effect?
So, it, by default, has low bonus knockback, more than a club of its size ordinarily would. However, this increases up to high as your target feels more humiliated and or frustrated.
Correct.
In addition, trading blows, as well as its other effects, also provides bonus knockback. I believe, which it says somewhere or another. Actually, maybe it doesn't. Wait, let me just double check. It's been so long since I played this character.
No problem. I don't think it does. Could be
no,
wrong.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
still,
in that case,
high bonus knockback off of the
high
intense
bonus knockback.
frustration. And because of that, the man is caught under his chin. His helmet goes soaring from his head as he goes like complete like backwards crescent moon, like
nice.
And he goes like sailing up into like a backflip backwards and lands splattering in the meadow like 20 feet away from you. It is a massive strike. However, given that trading blows is up, he immediately starts hauling his ass back to his feet, completely unharmed, but so angry, and like now without his helmet. You see that his like previously impeccable hair is like completely tousled. He's covered in mud from the meadow, and you can see that like his armor is smeared, his heraldry is smeared, and his mount, which has been stacking trading blows frustration as well, is at this point able to like, I'm going to say rampage past it. It's a slow rampage. These things do not have a high top speed. Slowly rampages past him towards you with a great like as it starts to like shuffle its huge bulk into position against you. Again, things the size of a cottage. It has a tail with a club on it. What do you want to do?
Does it look like it's going to swing its club tail, or does it look like it's just charging me?
It right now looks like it is just kind of like bearing down towards. Again, imagine being charged by a dairy cow. You know, like that can hurt. That can hurt badly. It's just like not a high top speed necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, I just hung my club on my belt again, and I will just do some stretches while I wait on it.
And as it takes once Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, after like 3 seconds, it's on top of you and goes into like use its great plated head to like slam you to the ground.
Nice. And when it does, I'll just like brace one leg against the ground and like aim my shoulder so that it's ramming into me. And I imagine that even with the effect of the trading blows, I'll probably get pushed back a few
Oh,
paces.
you absolutely
But
are. This thing
the idea
just
is
like
to stay on my feet.
like digging a long rut through the mud with your feet as it just effortlessly pushes you backwards, but it doesn't floor you. And you can see that after a moment, it takes a step back, and much faster than it's able to run, it actually pivots on its body, and its wrecking ball of a tail comes whipping towards you. This thing is like the flail, but worse.
Yeah. And I do have 2 reflex though.
Yes,
so
indeed.
at this point, what I would like to do is, from my previous kind of braced position, I just stand up, bounce on my toes like a boxer, and allow its tail to hit me squarely in the chest.
And for the first time, Prokopios is knocked on his back, just boom,
Yeah.
taken
And
down
I would like-
completely.
And I would like to use my 2 reflex to roll as I'm hit, roll with the force of the blow, and spring back to my feet.
And as you spring back to your feet, you actually hear a gasp from Dame Sheila. As you getting hit by the tail becomes a new tattoo on your body.
Oh, awesome.
I will note, the tail left a bad bruise and knocked the wind out of you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it didn't,
So,
atomize your skeleton.
Yes. Yeah. So I will pause for a second, a few seconds, as I am actually getting my breath back after being winded.
And also, I
but-
will say the frustration in Prokopios is
Yes.
like at a fever pitch at this point. He's going to have a
I
hard time
was-
keeping cool about anything.
Yeah. So what I was going to say there is that as I'm doing this, I am also like not just the frustration, but also the loss of dignity, because although it looks impressive to other people, hence why I get a tattoo for it, to me, because I got hit with this massive blow, I feel like utterly ashamed, and I'm just staring down at my chest, getting this bruise, and I'm just thinking, I can't believe that stupid lump of meat actually had the audacity to bruise me. This is disgusting. And I'm just fuming, and I will say that, like, under my breath, I'm like swearing, cursing to myself. But as I do this, I think back to my many other occasions in which I've used trading blows, including in his first ever Enclave mission against a giant anteater. And
That's a Tomash
by a
mission.
giant anteater, I mean an actually giant one, not a real world giant
geez,
anteater. Yeah. And I remind myself that just because it feels really stupid to get beaten up by an animal, it doesn't always seem that way to other people. And I look at my new tattoo and I tell myself, no, Prokopios, no. Just because you feel like a loser for getting beat up by what's effectively like a big donkey, you're still cool, man. You're still cool. Keep your head in the game. Come on. You could do this.
That's an amazing
and
defiance. I love that defiance so much.
And
And-
I straighten up.
God. Yeah, the frustration would not leave, but it would be put in a box, at least for
Yes. Boxed in.
And as
Keep
you
it
are
going.
doing this, you hear Sir Davenport, smeared with meadow mud and flowers, scream over his shoulder, "You cowardly, useless thresholders! Fill that insolent bastard full of arrows, or I turn my mace on you!"
And they can't, because other parties are not able to interfere.
Yeah, exactly. And so the watching mercenaries, rather than like shooting you, they start to like inch away in their like shifting moving formation from Sir Davenport, who turns to like run after them for a second, and then from the compulsion by trading blows wrenches himself back towards you. and with just like a complete like animalistic scream, just comes rushing towards you as his like his farer starts to like shift its bulk around to that so that the two of them are not coming at you from opposite directions, but like you're 4 and you're 8 o'clock. Before we go further though, Taylor.
Yeah.
Your conversation with Sir Falstaff.
So, you would not be opposed or working against me if I were to take care of that witch then?
Take care of Dame Malephony, you think? Take care of her. She's only the most dangerous knight that Adelcrin employs.
That would make her the most dangerous one in this particular part of your world then, right? Not even spanning more than that. I think I'll take my chances.
He says, let me put it this way, Kingsman. If you take care of Dame Malephony, we won't fire a shaft at the king. None of us wants to be put up for regicide.
You're a smart enough man that I don't need to repeat myself, that I'm not that king's man, but very well. That's a deal then.
Any man who operates on behalf of the king is a kingsman.
Taylor will not wait for the response. Instead, he will slink back into both his mist and the foliage, trying to sneak in the direction
as
the man
the
kind of
cloud
indicated.
of suspicion has propagated pretty heavily by now, you hear Sir Falstaff say, Hey, King, where'd you go, King? Shit. And the last thing you hear him say is, keep an eye over your shoulder, boys. I don't trust that one. And as you make your way into the mist-covered woods, what would you like to do? You would hear the yelling and bashing of battle outside.
Seems Prokopios is handling things. I think he will very much look for. I forgot the name again. The witch he is
Dame
about to
Malephony,
kill.
and also Lady Lina
Malephony.
is technically a mage as well.
Yeah.
How would he like to do so?
Well, he is walking around. There is the mist about, and he knows she's somewhere. He has dealt with some sort of, not knights specifically, but people who think they are important. And he would, like, thinking about it, he would think that those people would usually be the prideful sort. Would you consider pride an emotion that one could smell for?
I will totally take it.
So then, if that's off cooldown, he's going to take a very deep breath again, taking in a lot of the mist, but as well trying to smell for pride.
And activating Omoriori, smelling for pride, you pick up a scent almost immediately. It's off to your 2 o'clock. The scent is faint, but feels concentrated. What do you want to do?
So that's away from the battle, too?
Yes, it is. Though not, like, dramatically far. It's not, like, opposite direction from the battle or anything.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna go that direction then.
Absolutely. As you are making your way in that direction, you feel the meadow, like, or the woods around the meadow kind of rising, like you're going up a slope. The trees are rather far apart, and some of them bear fruit. It would be such a beautiful place were it not for the mist that is starting, like, snaking in through the trees, and you're kind of, like, walking. At first you walk through, like, the heart of the mist, and then kind of start getting to the point where it's starting to spread, but not fully gone yet. But up ahead, you do see movement after moving for, like, less than a minute. You can see, at first, the now familiar movements of thresholders in the trees, shifting from tree to tree, but in this case, clearly keeping a perimeter. What would you like to do as you get closer? Again, moving slowly enough to at least retain some stealth off of your watch code.
So they're having a perimeter, but this is not a shoulder-to-shoulder war. It's
No,
more
not even
war.
close.
It's more
It
spread
is-
out thing.
It is rather a loose, more sentry-like perimeter.
Then Taylor will move even slower.
Yeah.
And try to stick to the bushes as he will try to move past them.
Absolutely. Okay, never mind, I know it. In that case, as you kind of step through between, at least getting to like the perimeter line and seeing through, you see three things of note. First of all, you can see that there is a kind of naturally occurring meadow pool, beautiful and even. However, the meadow pool is perfectly still and mirror-like. And instead of, when you look into perfectly still water, you see a reflection of the surroundings. You see a reflection of a different skyline when you look into the pool. Second of all, you can see a woman sitting next to the pool. There's even like a little drape on the tree stump not tree stump, but like tree root that she's sitting on, so she doesn't have to dirty herself. She is wearing like a beautiful courtly dress. She has a high pointed hennin on her head, and she's looking pleased with herself. And then directly next to her, observing the rest, you can see another woman clad in armor. She also is looking pleased with herself and is riding on the back of a large frilled lizard. So it has kind of a spindly body and that big frill flap that is currently flared open. It is big enough to carry her, but again would be on the spindly side for a true mount. And she is like, the frilled lizard is in kind of a high, like upright position against the tree, meaning that she has like a high overwatch position. And you can see her head on a swivel. And occasionally she barks a sharp order out to the thresholders that are keeping the perimeter.
Would Taylor hear that order?
Yes, and you would hear, she would give out two in the time you're watching. One would be, "Keep moving, you!" And another one being, "Report back! Quick!" And you can see that a man has started to swiftly move away through the woods.
So, at a glance, two people right here. One of them, like, are the dresses any different? I'm not sure if you.
Oh yes,
the
woman on the frilled lizard is wearing full armor. She's rather well armored, although she is not wearing her helmet at the moment. The other woman is wearing a courtly dress with not a shred of armor.
So if I were to guess who of those is which, Taylor would think that the armored one would probably be Meliphany, and the courtly dressed one being Lena.
Lina, yeah.
Lina. Trying to keep with the bushes and not, like, second priority, the perimeter. He would try to sneak up on the armored one.
Absolutely.
Or close to it, rather.
Now, in this case, this would mean you're kind of like penetrating the perimeter to get closer to them, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I think he might even take a detour around.
Sure.
Not penetrate the perimeter, just as much as he can make it.
Yep, and in that case, you would actually be able to hear a brief conversation they have. In this case, the dame would say to the lady, "Word from your grandfather." And the lady, who is still just kind of sitting there, almost looks like she's posing for a painting, with her eyes closed, says, "Yes, plenty." The dame, after kind of like a pointed pause, says, "Would you care to elaborate, my lady?" And she, after a moment, says, "I will when it becomes relevant. I think it's relevant now, my lady." "I will be the judge of that." Spirit stat?
1+.
Yeah. In that case, because you can make out her face through the mist, you would be able to see Meliphany kind of like, she doesn't roll her eyes, but she does get kind of like a "I just ate a lemon" sort of look on her face for a moment. You notice that Meliphany does not carry weapons, though she does wear armor. And her frilled lizard is barded, though not very comprehensively. Any other things you would like to check in or note as you are flanking around their position?
Well, Taylor would like to kind of think about if wearing armor would prohibit her or would discourage her from using protection magics. But he has no tool right now, at least, to figure that out yet.
In that case, as he is doing so, back to Prokopios. Now,
Yes.
with Sir Davenport and his farer kind of shifting into position against you, what do you want to do?
Okay, quick question. At the start of this fight, I stabbed my spear into the ground. How far away from me is it now?
It is kind of equidistant between you and them at this point.
Okay. In that case, they are moving faster than me, and I don't want to look flustered by moving quickly. So instead of going for the spear, I once again draw my cannonball, and I will toss it up in the air, spinning end over end, and catch it.
Yep.
And look towards the knight guy as he's running at me, deliberately giving the impression that I intend to do the same thing as before, and wait until he's near me before clubbing him. I even get into the pose as if I'm about to do another one of those tennis swing type uppercuts.
You see that as he is running, he's continuing to swing, he crisscrosses the chain along his arms, kind of like doing like a cat's cradle, as like a shield of chain that he can have in place to catch your weapon.
Excellent. And then I swing my weapon up before he gets to me, but instead of tossing it at him, I just toss it up in the air, or up in the air, but also still towards him in his rough direction, but not going to actually hit him. And normally I would yell, but I would like to try and make this not a shout. Instead, I just want to say the words quietly and like not necessarily whisper, but I imagine between him and his big beast, they're making quite a bit of noise with their charges,
yes, they are.
Considering he's wearing armor and it's huge. So yeah, I'll as quietly as I can get away with saying, I will just say to my weapon, "Go, my trusty and loyal companion. Strike out for yourself and put that oath in his place." And I basically just want it to spin end over end through the air, completely missing him, and he will probably find that funny, or maybe he'll just think that he's got a very good opportunity to beat me up or something, who knows. But either way, once it has passed by him, I mean, technically I'm activating the ability Samoseg immediately, but I don't want it to do anything until it is past him.
Yeah.
And then I want it to change direction and then keep spinning round, but smack him right in the back of the head and knock him face first into the mud.
And in that case, as you kind of toss it over his head, you can see that he uses the other end of his flail, because it's just one chain, right? And the other end has a smaller, lighter weight. He uses the lighter weight and like kind of whirls it wildly. He's clearly good with the weapon and was clearly trying to parry an attack, but it goes over his head. You can see that he does like the briefest like to check, and then he goes ha, and lunges at you again, and does like a double cross with both ends of his flail, like the heavy end and the light end.
Nice. And you said earlier the flail has quite a bit of range, yeah?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So in that case, I'll just stand with one hand on my hip and allow him to hit me with it.
And the big one gets you across the face, again leaving a mark.
I've got a helmet.
You got a helmet, so it wouldn't leave a mark. Yeah, just clawing off the helmet. The lighter one, however, after it goes across your chest, he would do kind of a quick back and forth as the lighter end would smack you across the chest multiple times in very, very rapid succession. It is clearly like trying other things, and in this case it would leave like thin lines in certain places.
Thin scratches.
It's a vicious attack. However, and as he's doing this, he's like running closer and closer and closer with each strike. His like the length of chain he's holding gets shorter as he like chokes up on it. And then as he gets on top of you, he swings out the chain to kind of like loop around your body to pull you in close to him.
I would say before he gets on top of me, my weapon should have come back though.
Yes, it is on the way back, but he would be starting to deploy his loop of chain.
Okay. So does it look like my weapon is going to hit him before he gets into contact with me?
You do not have the sensory to time that.
Okay, fair enough. In that case, how exactly is he trying to loop me in these chains?
So you can think of it as he's doing the strike with the small end. He takes a length from the bigger side and like swings it out like this. So picture like a big loop of chain that's going to kind of land just beyond you, and then he's going to try to like snap it and pull you in.
Okay, cool. In that case, what I would like to do is I prepare myself for this, ready to react in time when he does pull it in, and basically I just want to boost myself along. Like when he pulls it in, I kick off the ground at the same time so that it gives me extra acceleration, and I want to try and headbutt him.
Oh, that's sick, yeah. And in that case, as you do so, clanging in and slamming him in the head, you obviously, like, given that it's trading blows, normally this would knock out a normal man, but this guy's very, very tough, clearly. But it does cause him to, like, stumble backwards a moment, and that's when your Samusek plows into his head.
Awesome.
So you kind of ping-pong him back and forth, and he slams down into the meadow mud directly at your feet.
I would like to put my foot on the back of his head and say, ready to give up now?
And as you do so, your defiance barely holding to keep your like voice under control.
Yeah.
You can see that his Farer was like, of course it was rushing you, but it's way slower than him. It actually comes to a pause, clearly scared you're going to badly hurt him. It doesn't seem to understand that the fight doesn't have like stakes, so to speak. You feel him like heaving under your foot. And you hear him say into like the mud and the grass of the meadow, never in all my days have I been so humiliated.
The inevitable consequence of facing me in battle, I'm afraid.
And you hear a peal of laughter from behind you as Dame Sheila says, Did you really? I can't believe it.
And I think, I mean, does he seem to be like he's trying to get back up?
No.
Okay. In that case, so normally with trading blows, you can end it with a particularly big blow, but if he's not getting up, then I don't see any need to do that. So I will just retrieve my club from where it landed next to him after hitting him, and I will saunter on over towards my spear.
As you are doing so, you see the thresholders beyond have all lowered their weapons, and except for one, who you can see brings up his bow, gives you like a touch of the head salute, and one of them yells, "We're leaving, Davenport. Pick yourself up when you can, lad." As you can see, they turn and start to move quickly towards the woods. Davenport starts hauling himself to his feet, dripping with mud. The cloud of suspicion at this point has actually spilled out over the meadow, meaning that when you saw the thresholders leaving, you actually mostly just saw them in silhouette, with like the closest ones making out their faces. Davenport stumbles to his feet and like again stumbles over towards his Farer, and it's at this point that trading blows ends as he puts his hand to his Farer's face, and you hear him say, "I failed you. I'm so sorry." What do you want to do from here?
Let me see. So I have an idea in mind, but it is slightly hampered by the fact that my character does not in character know what Cloud of Suspicion does. No pluses to intelligence, no pluses to arcane. I think I'm just going to, like I said, I retrieve my spear and turn to look back at him after doing so. The club once again on my belt, and I'll also retrieve my shield, which I dropped near to where the spear was. And as I straighten up from rearming, I'll look back at him, glance across at the cloud of suspicion, and I just say, strangely dark weather on the horizon there. Don't suppose your magic casters have decided to, cut you loose now that you're no longer of any use to them?
He pauses. You hear Dame Sheila through the mist go, ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. And you hear him say, shut up, Sheila. And he turns to you, only barely visible through the mist at this point, which has gotten quite thick. And he says, they would never. I've served the Edelkrins for 2 generations. I've never failed them till this day.
Yeah. You did fail them to this day, though. Are they known for being a particularly generous sort of employer?
There's a pause. I will not speak ill of my patrons.
That sounds like something someone would say if their patrons weren't particularly forgiving people.
Quiet, invincible man. Quiet.
Fair enough.
Allow me to nurse my dignity with my steed. Allow me this. You've won fair and square. I am a knight of my word. I will be humble in defeat. Allow me this.
Very well.
He actually slumps against his farer, who just kind of like puts its big armored head against him. And Sheila, who has come snaking her way back through the mist, says, you're an okay sort, Davenport. It's a shame you ended up on the other side of the war and everything. We're not at war yet, Sheila. After this we're gonna be. You better believe that. Well then, may the best man win. I think you know who the best man is, Davenport.
I actually do that.
She says, you're right, not talking about you in this instance. She snakes over to you as well, hops off of her mount, and actually like claps you on the shoulder and says, that was incredible. That was incredible. Never seen anything like it.
Glad you think so. And now that trading blows is over, my dignity is starting to restore. Therefore, I no longer feel quite so bad about getting a bruise.
Yep.
But I do sort of puff up my chest a bit with pride, because I am not a humble person. And I will say to her then, seems like you do have a bit of respect for this guy, despite his lackluster performance.
Let's hold the harsh language. I don't think anyone would have expected he'd go up against an indomitable pillar of stone.
That's fair. No one could have predicted me. That is a good point.
Davenport says into the armor of his fair, I have defeated indomitable pillars of stone before.
Yes. Indomitable pillar of steel. That might be a better way of putting it. A man of steel, if you will.
Oh, yeah. Let's go with that, shall we?
In any case, old Davenport here seems like a pretty decent fellow, and if, as seems to be the case, his current patron is indeed no longer seeing the use in keeping him around.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Who knows?
The Edelkrins are bastards. Do not speak ill of my lords before my ears. All right. I'll say it later when you can't hear me.
Well, all I'm saying is, if they no longer have use for him, perhaps he could earn his redemption by serving his king. But that's a topic for you to discuss.
I'm sure the king would be happy to extend you the opportunity, Davenport, my old man. She goes over and claps him on the shoulder. She says, don't touch me, Sheila. Well, let's talk then. But as she's doing so, you hear a call through the mist. You hear a concerned man's voice. Sheila! Oh, pardon? Duty calls, Davenport. She looks to you and says, and you, steel guy, yeah. Clearly more to do, my good man.
Of course. I'll be right with you. And I'll just cast a glance back over at Davenport again and just say to him, that was a pretty entertaining fight. You actually did pretty good, my man. And then I will turn and walk off towards the sound of the other guy's voice.
And as you do so, Davenport says, Wait just a moment.
Oh.
And as you turn to him, he actually steps away from his mount, and still sopping with mud and grass stains, he bows. And then turns back to his mount.
Yeah. I will give him like a kind of deep nod in return, not an actual bow, because I won, but yeah,
Yep.
a nod of respect.
And stepping back over towards the king, you would see that the king has actually been surrounded by an improvised palisade that's like 10 feet high. It's a pretty substantial little fortress. And you can see that the other of the king's knights and his beaver are standing beside it. The knight has a concerned expression, and he says, Davenport dealt with? I can't believe it. That's incredible. He gives you like a nod and says, well done, my man, but we have other problems. He says, even though this will certainly endure the arrows of the Thresholders, it will not endure another assault from Malephony, and she could appear at any fraction of a second. I don't know if any of us could stand up to her, even you, my good man.
Well, my companion is around here somewhere. He's not exactly fond of killing spellcasters, but maybe he will be particularly good at, I don't know, negotiating with them or something. I'm not actually sure what he does, to be honest.
Sheila shrugs and says, I don't really know what you do either, Bovern. And the beaver knight says, oh, it points to the wall. The king is protected. You know what I do. But before we go further here, Taylor.
So Taylor
You've
will.
completely circled around the perimeter and are now at the backs of the two women.
Taylor has taken the time to walk around to think of another very foolish plan, probably for him. But this lake is very clearly magic. And does it seem more like transportation or just communication magic to him?
Well, as you are circling around it, you would see something that implies the former. Because you can see, again, through the inverted, reflected view beyond, banners coming closer.
All right, then. So here's what Taylor will try to do. He will unfold probably the Balestrina on his lower arm. Roughly aim it for the sea, though I don't think it's that much of a target to miss.
Yeah, good luck missing a lake.
And he will shout out, the fate you have come to seek today will not come to pass, as he loses the quarrel trying to use Maleus Maleficarum on the lake.
Absolutely. And as the bolt hits the lake, it's almost like the image. It's not like a breaking glass or anything. It's almost like your bolt making a ripple. The ripple disturbs and distorts the reflection, like the magical reflection, and what's left is just like the normal reflection. And you would hear from the lady, and you would hear an immediate hiss through the teeth of Dame Malephony, whose frilled lizard whirls around with her riding on its back as she immediately starts to get her helmet back on. And she says, Whispers from the mist. Very, very clever, Kingsman. Very clever indeed.
Taylor is not going to respond to this Kingsman. Instead, he is going to try to run back towards where he thinks the battle is.
Absolutely. As he goes shifting through the trees, however, he hears the sudden across the wet grass of the frilled lizard, and man, is it frickin' fast. Malephony starts closing in on you extremely, almost like she's driving a car.
Taylor would like to, again, no reflex, just skill. He would like to kind of, I say bend, but make a bend around a tree.
Yep.
And try to let her pass that way.
Yeah, and try to be like, is this like a going around tree completely still sort of thing to let Watchcoat kick back in? Yeah, absolutely. And as she goes, like shooting past, She says, "This damned mist." And you hear a sudden, like pulsing noise as she clears a large pocket of mist, like, around you guys. And you can see her eyes scan, and when they pass by you, they pass over you. And then she moves onward in the direction of the battle. Yeah. You hear faintly Lady Lina, like, sobbing to herself a little ways back. And you also can faintly make out the voice of one of the thresholders who says, "Guess you're stuck with us for now, my lady. About that payment." What would you like to do from here?
I think this is a very good point to stick around then. Or rather, yes, we are supposed to take her into custody, as Taylor would take it, so he will try to sneak back towards those.
Getting back into the mist and getting closer, you hear her immediate response. "We'll discuss it when I am returned safely." "That wasn't part of the contract, my lady." "Yes, it was." "Oh, was it? Would you like to negotiate that now?" "There's nothing to negotiate. Stay away from me." "Have it be your way, miss." And you hear a thud of an arrow, and you hear, "That was too close." "Oh, I know it was too close. Don't worry, we're keeping a ways away." You can see that the perimeter that she has set up has completely collapsed, as all of 6 of the thresholders who were nearby are, like, making a loose circle, like, no closer than, like, 5 paces from her. All of them have their bows with arrows knocked, but none are quite aiming at her yet. She has shrunk up against the tree, and you can see that in one hand she is holding what looks like a beautiful little, like, phial of some, like, magic liquid maybe, and in the other hand she is, like, holding a necklace around her neck. Her head is on a swivel looking at all of them. You can see that they are, like, looking casual in terms of their faces, but you can see their body language, you can see their tension, and more than that, even though they have, like, the faintest facade of being polite, you can feel them all, like, bubbling with deep, profound mistrust.
All right. Taylor will then load another quarrel into the Balestrino. And with, like, again, trying to walk slowly, but no longer actually sneaking, walk towards the dam.
Yep. And as you start making your way towards them, with no intent to be sneaky, one of the thresholders would hear you. Turn around and raise his bow in your direction. "Who goes there?"
A negotiator.
"I see you brought another lapdog, my lady." "That one's not one of mine."
And I, like, Taylor would like to aim for the vial in her hand and just shoot it with the quarrel.
Skill stat?
2 pluses.
Oh yeah, you hit it. And she yelps and, like, grabs her hand. You can see that the breaking glass cut her slightly. And you can see that the thresholders, like, whip around for a second and then pause. And the one that had been aiming at you says, "Good shot." And he actually, like, drops his bow slightly, though it still has an arrow knocked. He says,
"Indeed.
Negotiate then, negotiator."
I've been talking with a very nice man, Flagstaff, I think.
"Oh, Falstaff. He's not supposed to be talking with well, I mean, whatever."
He's not supposed to be talking with a kingsman, which I assure you I'm not. I'm just here on business as are you. Though I would say this, as he points his firebrand towards the dame, probably isn't.
And as you do so, the lady kind of shrinks up against the tree and she says, "Treachery upon treachery. I knew we shouldn't have brought on that." And one of them says, "That what?" She doesn't continue.
"That honorable mercenary commander Flagstaff, who is all intents and purposes more of a knight than you and your ilk will ever be."
"I am no knight. I never claimed to
I said you and your ilk. Presumably your grandfather would be one, otherwise he would not be stupid enough to think he could be a king."
"If you wish to speak ill of my grandfather, then maybe you had best do so to his face, cur."
I think that will be some time until then, and yes, very much I intend to
You actually can see at the
No,
word cur, a number of the thresholders look like actively uncomfortable. Like that was a very bad insult here.
not that Taylor would understand. Like,
Of course
from
not.
the spirit, he would
He
think
would
she
he
was
would see the
insulting him, but he has no
context, even
sense
if
of
it
what kind
doesn't
of
like
insult that
matter
would
to
be.
him, you know.
Yeah. Well, but for now, neither your grandfather nor his men are here. And from the looks of it, as he gestures towards the lake, they're not coming for quite a while.
But then name your price. I can be ransomed.
Yes, you can be ransomed, and you shall when I take you back to the king.
So you are one of the king's men. You can see
No.
the thresholders frown slightly.
I am a mercenary, as these good men are here, and as much as they are instructed to help you out with this rebellion, I'm instructed to bring you back alive.
Hold there, kingsman. What about our purse?
I'm sure the king, if spoken to by me and my ally, will look favorably upon you. And
There is
I
but
am
one
very
issue,
sure.
says another. One substantial issue. All of our homes are past Adelcrin's land. The king cannot ensure that Adelcrin will not take revenge on our families for accepting his money.
Well, the king can ensure that Aelcrin will do nothing ever at all. Or again.
Ha! He doesn't have the strength. My grandfather's domain is a fortress at this point. His armies rival the king's, and the king has too many wars on too many fronts to challenge us militarily. And he knows that, otherwise he would have.
So, let's talk business then. You are here. These fine people here are here because you paid them. I'm here because the king paid me. I'm very sure that I will bring you back. And if that happens, do you think your grandfather will leave you be and just attack the king for you? Or do you think he will just hole up in his fortress and leave you
Well, no, of
to
course
your
not.
own
He
devices?
will ransom me, and I will return home.
What do you think the king would ransom you for? Money? I don't
Well-
think he needs much of that from all I've seen.
Well, of course he needs money. He is practically a pauper. And you hear one of the thresholders say, "This is the first time I'm hearing about that."
Yes, it's also the first I'm hearing about this. Again, as you might notice by my gait and my way of speaking, I'm not from around here. What do you think a mercenary from, I heard this man Flagstaff say, beyond the seas, would cost the king?
What are you getting to?
Oh, I was just adding that I'm not even from beyond the seas. I'm from beyond all of this above. But more to the point, I'm telling you that I will bring you back, and the king will, for all intents and purposes, make the ransom be your grandfather lay down his arms and reintegrate with the country.
That's entirely unreasonable. And
Well, either he is an unreasonable man and will try to get you back, or he is a reasonable man and will leave you to die. Or with
no,
whatever the king
of course
thinks
that
fit.
won't happen. The king is known for his mercy, and of course would not just kill someone, especially not a suitor.
Well, from all I've heard, you're not much of that either.
Excuse you. You hear that the thresholders actually like kind of chuckle. You know. I am the most eligible.
Let's become pragmatic. You may stand up and walk there yourself, or I may take you.
Fine. I will stand and I will walk, and you will not touch me.
Yeah.
And
And Taylor will again, very like waving the firebrand about, walk behind her.
Wait. What about our purse? You didn't answer our question.
Well, I tried to. Again, I'm sure the king will help you. And I'm sure the king would be more likely to help you if you were to accompany me and see this deal go through, I'm guessing.
But if our families are harmed because of this, you understand what that means. No thresholder will ever accept the king's authority. We will fight him to the bitter end if this is some sort of trick, or if it results in Adelcrin torching us.
I understand.
Well, make sure he understands that, Mr. Negotiator.
I shall. In due time, though.
We
For
men
now,
of the
let's
West don't play.
bring him an incentive. Neither do I.
One of them says, "You make the right sounds, foreigner. It's either do what you say here or fight our way back home over leagues and leagues that were crossed through this witch's magic."
Well then, I will just... Again, I'm not believing this... Well, woman was about to pay you anyway, so I'm just gonna take her and leave her. If you want to show your appreciation to the king, I'm sure you would want to accompany. If not, be sure to join up with that man Flagstaff. He seems the responsible sort.
We need to get paid. And if that means getting paid by the king, then that will be what we do. We'll rejoin with Falstaff, but we shan't walk under the king's banner. We are not partisan in this stupid war.
That's all right.
And you see that they turn and shift away into the mist. Lady Lina looks to you and says, "Well, enjoy your last breaths. Maleficent will be back any moment, and you will be put in your place."
We shall see about that. I'm sure to have led her astray towards where my man and 2 other of the King's Knights are going to be.
Maleficent is not led astray, and when she returns, even you threatening to kill me will not stop anything.
You will walk, or you will be struck with this, as I would like to make the tip of it glint just a bit from being a light.
Well, I'm walking. And she does, slowly. But before we go further, Prokopios. Back to the conversation with Sheila and Bovern. You can see that the palisade has been fully erected. The mist is heavy enough now that you can't actually see Sir Davenport or his mount through it. They're a little ways away at this point. And Sheila says, "So about that companion of yours. I trust that he's the clever type, even if he's not clever enough to kill a sorceress where he sees one, but that doesn't stop the issue that we're probably going to have to deal with Maleficent soon." And she looks to Bovern and says, she exceeds us both.
I see. Well, she may exceed either of you individually, and perhaps even both of you working together. I can't speak for her competence. You two seem to be quite skilled fighters, but I am sure that with all 3 of us working together, it should be certainly she should be something that we could handle, even if she is much more powerful than that last guy. And I will point out at this point that in addition to the Vishvanka making me look impressive, the Spangan Helm also makes me look more heroic to
Indeed.
allies and neutrals. So,
And Dame Sheila says, after what I saw, I'm not going to say it's impossible anymore, but she's a very different beast. And I'll tell you everything I know about her now. She's fast, very fast. That mount of hers, what a top speed. And she fights with these, I don't know what to call them, spikes of spell work. They don't go far, but they hit hard, and she can make shields too.
I see, yes. Well, my inhuman durability is really more geared towards standard physical attacks, so I will endeavour not to get impaled on magical spikes. Thank you for the warning. It is much appreciated.
Oh, of
and
course,
like
of
she
course.
did to me before, I'll just clap her on the shoulder.
She puts a hand on like your arm when you clap and says, "I got you, buddy. I got you. We're dead. Maybe not, but probably." And
It shall be fine.
as you do so, Bovern says, as he like remounts his beaver farer, he says, "This mist favors her more than us. It lets her maneuver better, and she knows precisely where we are. I wouldn't be surprised if she just tried to bypass us and get straight to the king." Sheila says, "Because of that, maybe we should take a 3-point stance around the palisade."
Sounds good to me. How tall is this palisade, though?
It's big, and it's like actually well built for having been improvised by a giant beaver. Like it's formidable.
Yeah, so these two both already have big giant mounts to stand on. I do not. So what I'm going to do then is, if we're going back to the palisade thing, I would like to climb it, and I do have a couple pluses to reflex.
Double reflex, might, vigor, skill. Yeah, you're totally fine.
Yeah. So yeah,
and as you take it up to the top, you actually can see down below that the old knight with the spear is like almost doubled over, barely holding himself upright. You can see that his face is kind of laced with veins of magic. His eyes are gleaming and are like almost bubbling with power. And you can see that the king down below continues to lay in exactly the same position as when you first poured it in. You're also high up, so you can't see if the head wound is necessarily getting better.
Yeah. I guess I would just sort of make an offhand comment at this point. Kind of a pity Enclave didn't send a healer, but oh well.
And as Bovern calls up to you, he says, "You guys have healers?"
Yeah, we do. Although, well, they're pretty good at healing people. Sometimes healing has side effects, so maybe that's why they opted not to. But yeah, I guess there wasn't one available, unfortunately. But your guy seems to have this under control. I'm sure he'll. I mean, he's really kind of looks like his eyes might melt, but he's giving it his all. That's the main thing. And keep going, my man.
Sir Bovern says, Sir Gurnes, are you all right in there?" There's absolutely, you don't even see the man move. He just, and Dame Sheila.
He's certainly doing something. He's still standing. That's a good sign.
Dame Sheila, with a slight quaver in her voice, says, "Sir Gurnes is one of the greatest healers in the realm. If anyone can save that wound, it's him."
Yep. If anyone can save that wound, it's him, yeah.
You hear a sudden boom, and the mist parts wildly as Sir Bovern is like knocked off of his mount, who rolls over on its back with its tail coming over its head to protect itself. You can see through the mist the knight aboard her frilled lizard, which is still upright on 2 feet. She is at this point about 15 paces from the palisade from your position, like close enough that you can easily see her even with the heavy mist, but also close enough to indicate like the relative short range of her magical blasts. Sheila immediately says, "Okay," and starts to like snake around the palisade to get into position. You see Bovern immediately like leaping to his feet and trying to get back into position as well. What do you want to do?
Is she still approaching the palisade, or is she standing still at that point?
This is like the moment where the mist part and she blasts. She does not immediately start moving. Like there's a moment where she's still. What do you want to do?
She's 15 paces away, and I do not have Debrief because I'm not a free runner. So I will stay where I am for the moment and see how the other two handle her and see if she keeps coming closer. Because I'm on top of the palisade right now. If she just ignores them and darts straight for it, I can possibly intercept her.
And after that beat of her pausing, her frilled lizard sprints forward. And again, it's like a car going 0 to 50, or actually kilometers. So 0 to 70 in like like a split second. It is so fast. Bam, 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 as it goes rushing towards the palisade. But with +2 reflex, you can actually react to this.
Awesome. Yeah, so I want to charge it at this point, and
you're up on a palisade, so that would probably be a jump if you were going to charge it.
Well, am I standing like right at the edge of the palisade already, or am I further down it? Because it's like surrounding the guy.
Yep.
Am I already at the closest point?
Given that he
to
is
her?
like only taking up a relatively small section of meadow, the palisade is pretty small, so you don't necessarily have like a full running start.
Okay, that's fine. In that case, I will position myself. Yeah, no, I'll just jump. Like, she's coming at me at car speed, so I'll just jump off, and I want to... Actually, before I jump, I want to toss my shield at her as if it was like a frisbee.
Yep.
And then I jump, and I get both hands on my spear, and I want to aim for her lizard's mouth.
Absolutely. Her lizard's frill is in when it runs, so like to get more aerodynamic. But as you leap towards it, first of all, when your shield goes out, you hear another kind of softer boom, and you can see it's kind of blocked in midair and deflects down to the ground. But as you leap out towards the lizard, you can see that it like quickly puts on the brakes and tries to like slip to the to your right to like try to get underneath you. It's quick and is able to like stop and adjust quite rapidly. However, it does not give her an opportunity to shoot at you. She's on its back, so it doing these quick adjustments means that she's kind of like forced to hold on.
Nice,
What do you want to
okay.
do as you are descending no longer towards the lizard's mouth?
Where am I descending towards?
This will be landing back down in the meadow, given that it's like slinking out like to your right underneath you.
I see. Okay. In that case, what I would like to do is the tattoo from earlier on my arm. I think it would be my upper arm because my forearm is covered, so about down to my elbow from shoulder. I take one hand off the spear, put my hand on the shoulder where the hilt of the sword would be, and then peel it off my body
so cool.
as the tattoo becomes a real object. And the object it becomes is like, it looks like a sword, sort of. Like it has scales on it, because like I described the tattoo as having scales. But more than that, as it comes off, it changes. It becomes a sort of Soul Calibur style snake sword, with the like a whip with sword edges, basically.
Of course.
And and what I want to do is, using my advanced reflexes, I want to swing it and lash it like around one of the logs or something that's on the palisade, and use that to alter my trajectory so that instead of going straight down, I'm like swinging around. And as I'm doing that with one hand, I want to adjust my spear, but I'm putting it close to my body, like a lance type hold, so that I still have force behind it. And I would like to try and swing around so that I can hit the lizard with it. Ideally in the head, if possible in the eye, but I only have the one skill. But if need be, in like the shoulder or the body or something. But just hit it is the main thing.
In that case, as you like bring forth your friend in need weapon, lash it out, connect to the thing, swing around with your lance, you can see that she had just been going to completely flank you and like climb up the palisade, which would have been child's play. However, as she is outflanking you and sees you swinging around, you can hear, you can see that she turns on her mount. There's another great boom, and you feel yourself kind of like impacting something solid, but her lizard shies away and does not complete the ascent up the palisade. Additionally, the solid thing that you impact, it doesn't feel like a wall. It feels more like a cushion of solid air that only lasts like a moment. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it does. It would like kind of stop your movement and drop you to the ground.
Okay. I like flick my wrist, and I want the sword to come unlatched from the palisade, and it snakes back, becoming a normal sword.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're going for here, and it's a perfect friend in need weapon.
Yes, but as it does that though, as it reforms into this, I'm going to visualize in my mind not just the knight that I actually got it from, who obviously is Sheila, who rides a snake, hence the
Mhm.
snake sword, but also the Sir Davenport or whatever his name was,
Yep.
who I spared his life, and specifically, I'm also going to visualize his weapon because he used his flail similar to a whip as
Nice.
well,
Quite
and
cool.
I am going to try and basically energy work this as I once again stick my spear point down in the ground, and I'm grasping the hilt of the sword, which I'm just going to say it's like a hand and a half sword,
Sure.
so I can do that.
Mhm.
Let's say. And I want to start swinging it around my head, and basically the same motion that he was doing when he was using the larger end of his flail.
Yeah.
And what I'm going for here is basically just like, it doesn't visually need to change, but I just want it to have more impact force
Yeah.
than it really should for a weapon of its size. And I am going to try, after building up a swing, I'm going to try and lash out at the lizard, and if I can, I would like to try and sever an appendage,
Absolutely.
whether a leg or a tail or its tail. I mean,
And
but
in this
yeah.
case, as you start to build up your swings, I love the energy work and it makes total sense. You would see that Meliphany, as you're going for like your second build up, she does another kind of like jabbing motion with her finger, and there's another great boom as you can see the air condense into like a lance shooting towards you.
Ah.
You do again have the 2 reflex. How do you want to try to adapt to this?
Okay. So let me see. I a lance of air. I think I would like to. Okay, yeah, no, I know what I'll do. So I was swirling this thing around,
Mm-hmm.
and I think at this point when she shoots her lance, I will stop swirling it and swing it, and I'm not going to go for a limb like I originally said. Instead, I'm just going to aim for its tail.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would like to do is, as the sword is swinging, because I said I'm energy working it to be more like that guy's big flail, which was very
Yeah, yeah.
heavy on the end, I also want to start retracting it so
Oh,
that
I see.
it's pulling me along. And the idea is by the time I reach the lizard, it'll be a normal sword again, and it'll just stab into the tail, and I will be present holding onto the sword,
Okay, so
pulled away
effectively,
from
you're
the
trying to
lance.
like fling yourself through the air, treating the end of the sword as heavier than you.
Yes.
Okay, that's freaking wild. And it is very thematic for the Davenport fight too. Here's what I will say. As Prokopios starts to be drawn out, um, you definitely don't have spirit. I know that for a fact. And since we're playing V1,
Definitely
yeah.
don't know.
As you
Definitely
start to
don't.
be drawn out, you would actually like, how do I describe this? It would feel like a full body blood like a blood draw from Prokopios' perspective. Like he can feel how draining this is on him, and
Yeah.
he would immediately see his lights like lights wink up in his eyes and things like that. But and
Mm,
as such, like the edges of his vision would kind of darken a little bit. However, he can
mm.
see the tail in front of him.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, like I said, aiming to just plunge the sword into the tail, and ideally, if I can change the position of my body while I'm in midair, I would like to land feet first, so that I'm hold the swords in it, and then my feet hit it next, and I'm sort of in a crouching position,
Yep, absolutely.
holding onto the sword.
And you impale through a section of the twitching tail. However, the moment after, Prokopios receives a colossal wallop to the back of his head and is planted into the mud.
Ah, yes.
And immediately afterwards, he feels a horrible flaying rake across his back, followed by Dame Sheila's mighty yell of, "Not the steel man, you don't!" Immediate follow-ups from Prokopios. He is in substantial pain. That was a deep, deep slash.
Okay. And with my limited vision and such. Does it seem like it was the lizard that slashed me, or did she do a magic-y thing?
You have no idea.
Okay. Right. In that case, are any of my abilities available?
Remind me the cooldown on Samosek?
All of them are mid.
Okay. Yeah. In that case, your closest, not even your closest. No, yeah, your closest is Samosek. That one's close.
That one was the last I used.
That's true, but
Oh well, I
remember
guess
that
no, because the
upon
way the
completion.
cooldowns work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about Friend in Need, to be perfectly honest. I don't have a clue how that works.
I could see you arguing Friend in Need being up, because yeah, that one makes some sense as not being a cooldown upon completion thing.
Yeah. And yeah, the trading blows would be a bit after Somerset because it ended slightly after the blow to the head. Okay, yeah, so I think my first action to do is I am in a lot of pain, but I also have to prioritize continuing to look heroic. So in order to get away from this thing, I would like to first of all, I don't want to let go of the sword, but I do want to loosen it so that it's not an actual sword anymore. It's once again just essentially a whip. And then I'm going to roll away through the mud and still holding onto it. And my hope is that getting this mud onto my back will disguise the fact that I have cuts on my back, and therefore not clue my allies in to the fact that I'm wounded, because that would demotivate them. But yeah, my main priority is rolling out of the way, and at the same time, I'm trying to blink the spots out of my eyes as best I can, given my low essence.
And as you kind of roll into position, and your vision is starting to haze into place, you can actually see that your two allied knights are, at least for this moment, occupying Meliphone. Meliphone is up in at a guess 7-8 paces in front of you, high on her frilled lizard. And you can see that Sheila is going at her from the front with a lance, but also Bovern is taking pot shots at her with a crossbow. And contending with both of them is, at least for the moment, enough that she isn't able to make a break through to the palisade or finish you off. Also of note, you see that her lizard is completely fine. It autotomized its tail. Namely, it just popped off the end.
I see, yeah.
Before we go further with... oh, pardon? Yeah?
Yes. No, I was just going to say I did think that might happen with it, being a lizard.
Yeah. Before we go further, Taylor, you and Lady Lina are having a peaceful walk through the misty woods. You can see her getting tenser and tenser and more uncomfortable, but you can also start to faintly hear a boom, like a telltale boom, and you can hear, at first she seems excited, see, there she, and then she realizes that means she's far away.
Well, I think my plans worked out then, didn't they? Oh, I will bring her in your direction. I'll be truthful enough to answer. So, that brooch of yours, I'm assuming the flagon was some sort of potion. That brooch of yours, mind telling me where you got it from? While we are having this walk.
Yes, of course. This is a gift from my grandfather. It is a very precious artifact. I wouldn't call it an heirloom of my house, but perhaps in a few generations it will be.
And Taylor is fighting not to remind her that he very much doesn't believe she will not have heirs to loom this too.
Indeed.
So instead, so his plan would be to bring her as close to the edge of the forest as he can.
Yes.
And then try to subdue and leave her there. But meanwhile, he will have pleasant conversation.
Any follow-ups about the brooch?
Well,
Or amulet would be closer.
a good luck charm then.
Something like that, yes.
Well, I'm not much of an optimist, so I think you shall see how much luck it will bring you yet.
Thus far, not much.
Well, you are alive, and you're going to be. I think that's more luck than many of my countrymen have had.
My respects to them and their families.
Yeah.
Why do you care about this?
Well, you are a dame of some sort. I think courtly talks are a thing you would know. I like to talk with people, like to get to know them. Were we not on opposite ends, I think you might find me quite sociable.
You are certainly a step up to the thresholders.
They would think that comment rude. They seem to be quite honorable people, as far as money will create that honor.
Precisely. There is honor outside of money, you understand. And you will understand and convey to your king that I was not simply in this for money or titles. He is, of course, a very handsome, very honorable, and very gentle man, and I would have dearly loved to have actually been his queen. And I do apologize that circumstances have drove us apart. You will convey to him that when the news of the Regis Certatis reached my family, they were excited, they were eager. I was but a young girl, and I was overwhelmed with excitement. We are not merely traitors, at least not all of us.
I understand. Well, since you've been so forthwith, I may talk a bit myself, I think. First, a very interesting fact you might like to know. When my peoples went away from having war for king or land's sake and started doing war for the payment's sake, we actually found that it gives their commanders an incentive to keep the people alive, if we added the contingent that they are supposed to. Not that you would yet care about those peasants around you, but in a few hundred years your heirs might.
Well, it seems as though they have forsaken us because, though they claim they do not swear fealty to the king, there is still, well, everyone here in the questing realms. When we learned the Regis Certatis still lived, it was like a dream for all of us. No one wants to be the one to hurt him.
Well, then I do pray, once we get you back there, that you find other ways to show your affection than trying to kidnap or kill the man.
I tried. Obviously, you have seen me under very tense, difficult circumstances, but I can be the absolute picture of a charming lady when I need to be, and I'm not being taken hostage. Thank you very much.
If it eases this whole hostage-taking situation for you, I have known a great many men to take on wives they have captured as a sign of good faith and to bring realms back together. This sort of war that's gonna be here, I think, would be a good incentive to go about that, wouldn't you say?
She says, "Who are you?" That's rather an excellent point.
Well, I'm just a man who travels around. Some might think I am to hunt and kill witches, but all in all, I'm just a man who is paid to get people to where they're supposed to be.
You've reached the edge of the woods at this point. You can hear the booms of combat.
I think that would probably be a good point for him to... So, I hope this doesn't kill her. he would like to just bring the firebrand around and choke her out with the brunt of it.
And she grabs and struggles and kicks and slumps.
Taylor will then try to touch the amulet.
And upon touching, what does he want to do?
It doesn't, it's not interacting with him just yet.
You don't feel any explicit interaction. Although, well,
Then
that's not actually true. You have your Capitaine, which is mental protection, and you would actually feel the mental protection being tested.
I think Taylor would... So is it a metal-ish chain?
Yes, it is a gold chain.
Does he have any easy access to the latch of it? Or is it just...
Yes, he does.
Yeah. He will then try to unlatch and pocket the thing.
Yep, and the moment he pockets it, the mental test leaves. As though it were disarmed, so to speak.
And then he's gonna walk towards the noise, and probably his doom from all he's heard, but...
Now, Prokopios. Blinking back to your senses, what do you want to do?
Yeah. So first thing is to get up to my feet, and but again behind my helmet, I'm gritting my teeth against this pain. But I'm after standing, I'll be like hunched over for a moment until I get it under control, and then straighten up, push my shoulders back and stuff, and then taking like a very kind of low, kind of solid stance. I would like to, again using both my hands, yank the sword backwards as I contract it again in order to get it, hopefully, to pull out of the tail.
Yep, easily done.
Easily done. Good.
Given that this is
then,
a powerful magical artifact, you can get away with a lot of bullshit.
Yes, well, we'll see about that, because I have another bullshit to try and get away with. So currently, the enemy woman, whose name I can't pronounce, Malephony, is getting held back by the other two. But she's quite a distance from me. How far away would you say she is from me?
She's actually not that far away from you. She is at the moment only about like 8, 10, maybe 12 paces. But that would be like, full striding running paces.
Yes. That's fine, because I don't intend to run. What I would like to do is, again, holding this thing in both hands, I draw it back, almost similar to that lance pose I had earlier, but I draw the sword back and I aim towards her. And as I do this, I want so like I said earlier, it's this kind of snake sword shape, there's each individual kind of segment, and I would like the segments to sort of shift as if it's like a living snake almost, and then each second segment to click around 90 degrees.
Oh, nice.
So basically, it looks fancy, but this is really just an aesthetic thing. But what I'm actually going for is, as I line it up and it clicks into place, then I want to thrust it forwards as best I can. And what I'm looking for is basically, if you've ever watched One Punch Man, it's Spring Mustachio's Tomboy, which I have just put a GIF of into the mission chat. You can look at.
I see precisely what you're going for.
It is very long, stabby attack as the thing stretches out to its maximum length, and I am going to try and impale her.
Where are you aiming on her body? Again, given your bleary state, it's going to be a rough shot.
Bleary state, I'm just aiming for center mass.
And your segmented sword springs out like a striking snake. This is actually midway as she's like blasting a couple of your against your allies, and you can see that the blade slams into the back of her armor and lodges there. And you can see that she is clearly hurt, though not impaled. Her armor is clearly made of pretty stern stuff. What do you want to do?
But it lodged in place.
Yes, it did.
Cool. I twist the hilt again, and I want the in a sort of cascading chain reaction, starting from the one that's the closest to the hilt to the one that's furthest away, I want the little things to snap around again 90 degrees,
line up.
and effectively, well, no, not exactly, but like each one snaps around. So when the first one snaps around, it lines up, but then the other one snaps around as well. They're effectively just changing the orientation. And when it gets to the one that is embedded in her armor, I also want the wire to sort of stretch out a little bit, so that in such a way that it clips against her armor. It's like lodged there properly, like hooked in.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and just yank on it as if it's like a sort of like I'm carrying something and I'm trying to pull as hard as I can, and my back is like searing in pain as blood is because it's definitely worsening my wounds by the amount of strain I'm putting into it, and I like my feet would be like sliding against the muddy ground as well as I'm trying to step forwards, and at the same time I want the sword to once again contract towards me, and the aim is to pull her off her mount, just yank her down to the ground.
And as you do so, this is not only a monumental effort physically, but it is also an effort magically. Especially with like all the intensive stuff you are getting this thing to do through your great energy work. And because of that, Prokopios would take a knee. He would have to.
Yep.
And as he does so, he would actually feel his sword contract, but not completely reform into full sword. It can only get about halfway. And yet, you hear her hit the ground behind you. And amidst the calls of your allies and the hisses, like the trilling hisses of her mount and the noise of the other mounts, your ears start to go kind of fuzzy as the low essence symptoms start to like really take you over. What do you want to do from here, only loosely aware of what is going
on? Loosely aware of what is going, I just mumble to myself, really wish. And as I'm starting to talk, I also want to try and like shuffle my way. If I can get back to my feet, I would, but I'm not sure I can. But if I can't, just of shuffle forwards. Oh, I can. Good. I get back up, then struggle back up, and I just want to take like one staggering step after the other, and I'm trying to just drag her away. Like I'm not really even thinking strategically. I'm just focused on this goal, and just one step after the next. And I'm just saying to myself, really wish I knew what the hell that other guy was actually capable of. Sure, Enclave had some reason to send him here.
And as you do so, you hear another great boom, which completely like disrupts your fuzzy hearing, and Prokopios is sent flying. And the sword is wrenched from his hand.
Yeah.
As he goes...
Can I pitch one last thing? Please. As the sword is sent from his hand, the contracting force, which was previously warring between her trying to stay away and him trying to pull her forward, is immediately like gone when he lets go of it. So the sword just slams, like the hilt has all of its momentum slam into the sword. As it contracts back into a normal sword.
I am completely okay with that. And Prokopios would fall unconscious.
Yeah.
Taylor, as you stride through the mist, hearing the sounds of booms, the sounds of yelling, up ahead you can see the palisades, and after another moment you can see the mounts, and then after another moment you can see the people. Most notably, you can see that the two knights who are on your side, the one aboard the beaver and the one aboard the snake, do seem to have actually kept the assassin at bay with her great frilled lizard. However, you would also see that she is not on her frilled lizard, and you would actually catch the moment where she blasts Prokopios away from her position on the ground, And then as she turns, his sword segments back, slams into her back, and actually drops her to her knees. This is on the verge of your vision through the mist, so you mostly see this in silhouette, but it's pretty easy to identify her silhouette given its proximity to her mount, which is currently scurrying backwards to her side. What do you want to do?
Yeah. First, is Omoriori of cooldown?
Yes, it is.
Then Taylor will pick the locket out of his pocket and try to get a sense of what magic this thing provides as he takes a deep breath.
Love.
Of course. Anyway, stuffing the thing back into his pocket, he's gonna, I think at this point he's even gonna gun for the dame.
Yep.
Whose name I can't remember, but maybe pronounce.
Totally. Meliphany.
Meliphany. Yeah. Firebrand in hand, maybe trying to fumble one quarrel into the Balestrino as he does.
As you start rushing towards, you can see that the knight on the beaver actually manages to hit her with his crossbow, though again, it just kind of slams into her armor, which seems very good, and she has her helmet on. The other knight on the snake bears down on her with the lance, and the dame is forced to, again, make a great boom and parry it. The lance almost goes spinning out of the woman's hand, but her snake catches it with its tail, and she says, "Thank you," and passes it back. And she says, "Got you on the ropes, don't we?" You can see that Meliphany doesn't respond whatsoever as her mount comes skittering to her back. It keeps its body low rather than rearing up high on 2 feet as you've seen it doing, and it actually flares out its great frill to obstruct her from vision. What do you want to do?
He was about to shout, "Go for this deed," but then he is going to go for this deed himself. Sort of the firebrand out front, like one would a short spear, and then just try to stab the wing of it or whatever feathery thing.
Frill.
Yeah.
And in this case, you coming out of the mist at a completely unexpected attack vector means that your firebrand jab lands without any block, any parry, any opposition. The sensitive membrane of the frill is immediately pan-fried by your firebrand. And the lizard gives, I'm not going to do it, I want to blast out your eardrums, gives this high-pitched shrieking hiss and rears away from his mistress just as she unleashes a powerful blast forward, not to the side where you are. The blast is loud enough that it would actually deafen you momentarily. But it is also powerful enough to launch back the 2 knights, though the guy on the beaver has a much better time with it, given his mount is much heavier and kind of more compact. Immediate follow-ups from you. The mount has reared away from you shrieking, and Dame Meliphany is 2 paces away from you.
Taylor will shout, "Is there no honor with you witches anymore?" as he loosens the quarrel, trying to melee us, but this time not aim for the magic, but for her.
And where do you want to aim on her body?
This is going to sound awkward with all the talk pre-mission, but he will aim for something like a throat.
Yep, absolutely. And as he does so, the bolt hits armor. However, you feel the Malleus wildly contract into the bolt, which then explodes in a sonic boom, similar to the weapons she's been using. And Meliphany is knocked backwards. Her mount smoothly catches her as she kind of staggers to find her footing on it. And you can see that through her helmet, she quietly registers your presence, and even though she's clearly been thrown for a loop, she's still trying to compose herself. But as she does so, she registers her mount's injured frill. And immediately, all of her attention turns to the mount. She gets into a quick, tight riding position, gives it a rapid pat, and it pulls into an upright position. What do you want to do?
Taylor will try again. There's no reflex. He will try to go for a jump and then a jab at the sword that's presumably still stuck in her armor. trying to wrench it aside, but make a gash with it.
Yeah, and as you do so, you don't quite get the altitude before she's upright. And as she does so, her mount with one of its like forelegs, kind of because it can stand pretty much upright, it like swats to the side to try to like knock you away. And it's even though it's kind of spindly for a creature this size, it's still pretty hefty.
Ayla would try to hold on.
And as you do so, it like batters you to the side enough so that you aren't able to tag Malephony, but you do hit it again, and it gives another like high pitched shriek, and takes a couple of quick pat steps away from you, as another crossbow bolt from the Beaver Knight whizzes past it, and at this point, with the mist around you, Malephony's eyes on you, you can see that in just like having made like a little space with you, she gives her mount a pat on the side of the face, and it turns and bolts, shooting through the mist as fast as a car.
Towards Taylor, that is.
No, away from you. And you hear a ragged cry from Sheila. Yes! Yes! We survived! I can't believe it.
Well. Does she dash into the direction where Taylor left the Malephony? No, the other one.
Lady Lina, opposite direction.
So, I have a present for you, King, if you mind following me.
Oh, he loves presents when he's not dying. Here.
And as I'm hoping the mist clears by now, wave towards the other one. I think my partner would like to be picked up and brought inside the palisade as well.
Certainly. He's quite a fighter indeed. If he wants to live here, he could get a knighthood, I'm certain. And Sheila offers you a hand. Hop on.
Taylor will take it.
You leap onto the back of her snake. She says, all right, Tallow, let's go find this present, shall we? And the snake goes whipping forwards. As you direct her and Tallow over the meadow, you come to the edge of the mist as it's starting to fade, and there you see the slumped, dainty body of the lady, her dress like the flowers of the meadow. What would you like to do? And Sheila says, oh, it's the bitch! Oh, X, what a present! She claps you on the shoulder and says, I like you both. You both are great.
I have one more note. I do hope this softens the blow on her, but this locket thing she was wearing seems to be love magic of some kind as you touch it.
I could use one of those.
I'm protected from it. I'll leave it somewhere in the palisades for you to check out after. Just know that she probably wasn't of sound mind herself.
What a find! What a find! All right, little lady, let's get you up here. She like ragdolls the lady onto the back of Tallow. You hear the lady start. Says shush, 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 none of that crap. And Sheila grabs a length of rope off of the side and begins tying up her, like hog tying her onto the back of the saddle. And as she does so, she says, are you back to the palisade too, or are you going to go vanish off into the mist like some...
I should make sure my partner is sent back the way he's supposed to be.
Lovely. Wow. Oh, this is great. I could have sworn we were going to die. I could have sworn the king was going to die and the realm was going to be plunged into, 100 years of misery. Oh, probably more than that. Great work. That was great. That was great. That was so great. She keeps kind of talking to herself in this way as you guys go snaking your way back across the towards the palisade. Meanwhile, Prokopios, you come to your senses to see a concerned face with a helmet on, kind of like gently like patting your cheek, your helmet off. He says, excuse me, Mr. Steele?
Take it, I got hit with some magic, huh?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And yet, Never a nobler defense have I seen in the face of a knight of such power. He says, my good Orin, you are a one substantial specimen of a soldier. I will tell you that much.
Well, thank you.
He says, well...
The name's Prokopios, by the way.
Prokopios, quite a name. He says, what's your last name?
That's the only one I've got, alas.
Oh, well. I was going to say my compliments to your family. He says, well, you'll be able to have audience with the king once he's better, however long that takes. And as the two of you kind of trundle back to the palisade, you reconvene with Taylor and Sheila. And as the two of you see each other, you feel your Enclave badges ping.
Oh, nice.
Or rather, I should say, Prokopios does. And he also just sees the one on Taylor's head. Just
Bloop.
Blink.
Final actions.
Question: does the king look like he's still badly wounded, or do we see him like wake up or
You
something?
actually can't see inside of the palisade.
Oh, right, I see. Okay. Yeah, in that case, I will just turn to what was the beaver guy's name again?
His name is Beauvern.
Bovern. Yeah. Ah, Sir Bovern.
Yes.
It seems like your king is going to be all right after all. That's what this thing here means. And I will gesture to the badge I've got, which I guess would be like on my belt.
Mhm.
Same as like near where I would have clipped the club. If I still had it. I can't remember where it ended up. But maybe I do still have it. Who knows?
I think you
but anyway, yeah,
I think
Enclave.
you equipped it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the Enclave badge is right next to it, and yeah, I just point out, we were sent here to save him, and this thing is ringing now, so saved he is. Your guy must have managed to heal him. Congratulations.
That is. He takes off his helmet, and you can see a little tear form in the corner of his eye. That is. Thank you. Thank you very much. I thanks from me and all of my people, and to whatever extent you can imagine it. Thank you.
Happy to help. Make sure your king knows that not to hesitate to call us again if he needs any further assistance.
Oh, I'm sure he will not. I am sure.
And with that, I bid you farewell, and I will tap my badge and disappear in front of his eyes.
As you do, Dame Sheila would say, farewell, Orange Steel. It was a pleasure to make your acquaintance and to watch you kick the shit out of Davenport.
My pleasure.
And Taylor, final actions from you.
Taking down his hat to again check that he himself can get out.
Mm-hmm.
I've had talks with the very fine people guarding this presumably border.
And then, as you say that, you can see they look to each other, and Bovern's, oh, the Thresholders, you mean? They're actually on the other border. They're not in our Demesne at the moment. They're on, like, the western side of Adelkrin's land. That's why it was so surprising to see them. It would take, I mean, for me and Jill, it would take a while. How long would it take you to get to Thresholder lands? Oh, I think 2.5, 3 days, maybe 4 days ride, if I was unlucky. And that's through Adelkrin's contested territory.
You would do well to pay them to be on your side.
All right, are you getting this? Let me get some parchment. He says, thank you. Sheila starts writing. She says, right, pay the Thresholders, get on side. Any other notes?
Well, the whole love locket and gift thing, but I think you'll be fine on that. As he just taps the badge on his head and disappears as well.
And as you are going, you can see that she says, am I missing anything? And that's the last thing you hear from her. And on that note, we will end the mission. Whew. You can see why the Enclave sent these two to this particular mission. All right, guys, let's talk about it. So, first of all, do you guys have any questions for me about calls or plot?
Call about the plot first of all. Were you really willing to ruin Captain's favorite
Yes,
setting if we failed?
absolutely. 100. I talked to Alex about this. He
Oh,
knew this was an option.
oh god. Yeah. And
Uh,
after we went into the mission, one player down as well.
Well, when you went into
I,
the mission, one player down, I just had to do some like rapid readaptions, and I like not quite halved. I like reduced the number of enemy forces you had to deal with
Yeah,
because there were
I
like
was
more
about
knights planned, and so
that
I
would
was
have been.
about to make a joke that telling them that we would have needed another agent if we wanted to actually kill Maleficent.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
that was intended to be a very hard objective. Like I and as another note, you may notice that they were going to get reinforcements that were actually Adelkrin soldiers, which would have not had any of the issues that the Thresholders had.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the plot,
Yeah.
calls, stuff?
I have another question on the setting. Taylor had met a decently dashing young knight on Bruletta's escape,
Yes.
riding another interesting animal.
Yes, of course. Olafir.
Yeah. Is he also from this kind of setting, or
Yes, he is.
is that just a coincidence?
This is absolutely his setting. And he is actually a king's man as well, like a knight of the king.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think I'm fine.
Nice. Reece, you got any other questions?
Let me think. So, the oh shit, I can't find it now. I've got so many tabs open. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. The king, right, at the start you described him as having a magnolia tree on his tabard.
Yes.
Was that always a thing, or did you just take
That
my
has
focus word
always been a thing.
Awesome.
And that is
that I see why.
that is
Yeah.
why. That is why these focus words made me very excited. To briefly
Awesome.
go through focus words. Magnolia,
Yeah.
Horseman's Undersecretary. King Chet, his full name is King Chet Magnolia. That has been his symbol, the symbol of his line throughout the entirety of this setting. Horseman, even better, because the Westing Realms, all the knights have all the mounts. And then Undersecretary, that came in because when does an undersecretary? I also kind of linked in the word understudy because I kind of conflated the two. When does that mostly come into play? When the secretary is out of the picture. And so as soon as I saw undersecretary, I was like, replace the king. And I was like, that's an interesting plot line. And then hip to be square. That is Chet consistently rejecting marriage. And that's been like a long-standing plot line as well. And so I was like, oh, that's even better. And then Sic Semper Tyrannis, assassination of a popular leader. Bingo,
Beautiful.
bingo. Yeah, and so it literally, as soon as I got the focus words, full plot. Like, no question at all. It was awesome. Really, really perfect. I cannot believe how clean the focus words fit in there. But yeah, obviously there was a lot of like very heavily pre-existing focus words or like world building. Chet, Sir Gurnes, Sir Bovern, Dame Sheila, those are all characters that have been interacted with before. However, all of the enemy characters, actually even Sir Falstaff has been interacted with briefly. However, all the other enemies, especially Lady Lina, Sir Davenport, Dame Maleficent, those are all new. And so you got to see a new crop of Questing Realms enemies that may well be recurring.
Oh, speaking of recurring, since the session has ended now, can I ask, will Sir Davenport take up the offer of joining the king?
He is going to substantially consider it.
Nice.
Well, if nothing else, he is going to be accompanying his lady.
Sheila?
Because in this case, Lady Lina, because, he has surrendered, and she has been captured. She is his responsibility. And so he's actually sticking around, whereas Dame Maleficent is running the fuck back to report what has happened. Given that her mount is so fast, she actually can cross that distance very quickly.
Nice.
Um,
I gotta say, I am kind of amazed that I actually survived fighting her, because as soon as I learned that, she was uh more than a match for the two of our guys combined, I was like, oh, I see, yeah, she's definitely supposed to be defeated by the Witch Hunter because anti-magic stuff. And I was like, yeah, so I've used up all of my good stuff. There's no way I can beat her.
well, let's briefly talk about that. Your fight against Sir Davenport was the most like fat trading blows I've ever seen. You got more value out of that ability than I have ever seen a person get value out of that ability.
I love that ability. Like
It was
this,
awesome.
it is such an amazing ability, and I always have a great deal of fun using it. I do think that not saying the class has to be played this way, but I certainly tend to throw everything at trading blows, and then everything's on cooldown for like
Yep.
half the mission.
But I will
Um,
say, your
but yeah.
your friend in need, also the best friend in need I've ever seen. That was amazing. The setup, the thematics, the weapon itself was so sick. I loved that, and I thought
I do.
it was what gave you any chance against Malephony in
Yeah,
the final fight.
yeah. I do think that of the friend in needs I've used, I think this was probably my favorite.
Yeah, actually, that's a
It
fair point. I did recently host a mission with like foolish pigeon using chalk to make a portal because of friend in need. This is like tied
nice,
with that in terms of like
nice.
intensity and effectiveness of that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I tend not to go like super imaginative with friend in need usually. And this, to be honest, wasn't really much of an exception. When I first used the ability, my only thought process was, I need another weapon. The person I'm helping is got a snake, therefore snake sword.
Yeah,
But
it was perfect though. The
because I do like the snake sword from Soul Calibur, I think it's a lot
mhm.
of fun. But yeah, no, as I was going about using it, like I first of all got the idea of copying Davenport's thing, and then next of all, I was like, okay, what else can I do? I'm like so short on resources. I have to make use of this, and that's when I got the idea of doing the spring mustachio thing
Yeah,
as
and
well.
then you did like
So
great energy work with it. That was really good energy work, and I think that's part of the reason I liked this friend in need so much. Your Samusek was also very clean, but I think that um, the thing I was actually most impressed with off of this mission, that's not even true. You did a lot of cool shit. The setup with the bludgeon was awesome. There's really, really great stuff in so many ways. But I think and also using your reflex so well, I think your Vishivanka play was great. Not only did it, like, help deal with the thresholders, as you might imagine, if they could have been, like, bullied into taking pot shots even at the King's Knights, that would have been a serious
yeah,
frickin' problem.
yeah,
And so you stood them down very fast, which is really essential before they could be like forced to do something. So that was amazing. And then on top of that, you like kept the knights' morale up and made them think they could actually take on Dame Malephony, uh,
yeah.
which was they couldn't. They were boned,
No,
but you ended up being able to hang on long enough for Taylor to
for
show up
Julian to save the
yeah,
day.
and
Yeah.
also for you to land that actually good blow on her. As soon as you landed that blow, she was going to run. It was just a matter of could she like take another pot shot at the king first, and that was like the
Cool.
last thing. By the way, this is going to be a side note. Your sword is still lodged in her, and is not coming out.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Also, just one other thing I wanted to say before I forget. Um, I don't know how much this comes across to you, Robbie, but maybe like Tomash or someone else who's hosted for us before, quite a lot would pick this up. But um, one thing I really enjoyed about this mission was that it completely flipped the script with Julian and I, because normally Julian's playing the character that rushes in and gets almost killed, and I'm the one who's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna talk to people and I'll just hang around in the background.
Yeah. Well, I will
So
say,
it was
Reece, I
yeah,
love Prokopios. He's a very
good.
good character. I thought that your shit. Another thing I loved. Your defiance was it's the best defiance you have ever done. That was
Cool. I'll try and
really
remember
good.
that.
I loved your social stuff on him. I loved your characterization. Just very, very good character. I would love to see him more because he's so unlike anyone else you play. So
Yeah, I know.
beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of I think that the issue I have with Defiance with a lot of characters is that my characters tend to be people who either take themselves very seriously or they're just like kind of too sort of laid back. Whereas Prokopios gets very invested in what he's doing,
Indeed.
so that kind of style of Defiance is more suited to him,
Yeah.
I think, than
it was
than my
really
others.
good. But moving over to Taylor.
Yes.
As soon as you were like, oh, are they sending the right people? I was like, ooh, let's see if you can find the play. You found the play. Yep, there's the play. Nice job. You found it within the first 10 minutes of the mission. The Cloud of Suspicion was fantastic, as always. You do a great job with planting that ability exactly where you need it. And not only because where you put it obviously helped you in that initial parlay, but it also was very consequential to the big fight that Prokopios was having. Because without the Cloud of Suspicion not only screwing up vision, but also making people paranoid, Meliphany would be much less likely to flee. And also would have been way less cautious in her fighting. Like, she could have for certain killed Prokopios were it not for the two big social limiters of one, she's paranoid, and two, Prokopios is heroic and, like, cool. And she's a knight, you know, even if she's a very, like, nasty knight, she can still respect that, you know? So she had two big social whammies that kept her from just murdering him. Which was, and so your planting of the cloud was perfectly done. Your Moriori is always on point. And you pretty much immediately were like, lake? No. Great. But I think that your like negotiations with the Thresholders and the lady were, as often is the case, Taylor's high point on the mission. He is such a cool, calm, collected negotiator, and it always shines through. You got a ton of information out of her. You got the Thresholders to not only not be a threat, but to actually be an asset. There was so many huge and then on top of that, your Watchcoat play is like the best of any of the Witch Hunters currently in game, because you are good at modulating your movements and being like, okay, I don't really need the stealth right now. I'm going to move like a normal person. And then, okay, I need the stealth. I'm actually going to move slowly. So you take your time really, really nicely. And then, of course, seeing you fence with your firebrand is really, really fun too. Smashing her potion, great. Choking her out, great. Tagging the mount, great. Yeah, just like you made the right play for the entirety of the mission. And I actually think that's kind of the case for both of you guys this time. Like, you saw exactly what I was laying out, and you made the correct play at every stage of the game.
Something that's kind of interesting that I'm beginning to think about now is I think we've discussed the Witch Hunter quite a bit in like recent missions and when you ask for it. But despite and Reece and I, for the people watching, and Robbie have had an extensive discussion on whether or not the Witch Hunter is a witch killer or not. They can take a lot of magic, but they have about 0.5 offensive capability. Like, the Balestrino is nice, I'd say. So is the Firebrand, but neither of them are really things that do all that much damage.
Yeah. You need to pretty much precisely have an Aspergillum build in order to really pack any sort of punch. I think if you were doing an Aspergillum build and started to get like shit off of other classes, you could very easily do a Mage Killer Witch Hunter play. But
I think you could do it with just a firebrand, actually. I mean, it explicitly says in there that it causes immense pain.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be more finesse than the Aspergillum, which is just brute forcing people.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I think death by 1,000 cuts using a firebrand would be a very legitimate way to defeat a witch.
This is gonna be an interesting question going forward. I always took the firebrand, the damage part of it, to be quote unquote mental, as in it doesn't do any cuts at all, despite me fencing with it extensively.
I mean, I would have said it would have done some, but also, like, if it doesn't do cuts, it would do burns because it's literally superheating. So I wouldn't say it's mental. I would say it's like, I mean, I'm not going to ask, have you ever been branded? Because of course you haven't. But based on
Well,
my
not that you
ability
know.
to watch movies and stuff, I gather that it's pretty painful.
Yeah, the way that I tend to run the firebrand is that in terms of like physical, can you kill someone with a firebrand? It would take a long time. So if you're trying to like kill someone, you better off just caving in their head with an aspergillum. That's immediate, right? Whereas the firebrand has obviously utility and social possibilities. And so I would say that in terms of its use as a weapon, the way that Julian plays it as like a fencing tool is actually quite good because you're like racking up burns that each of which are making people more angry and in pain. And then you can like try to capitalize on that, but the firebrand itself rarely finishes the fight, shall we say. And I think that that's what the witch hunter lacks without the aspergillum is a finishing tool.
I mean, I would say the firebrand is described as a metal rod, but it would not exactly take a lot to reskin it as a red hot poker, in which case you could stab someone with it.
That's true. You could probably do some sort of reskin like that, but if you do the reskin like that, then it's also getting a little heavier and bloody da. So like the intention behind the item, for what that is worth, is it is meant to be quite subpar as a weapon under normal weapony circumstances. And so the way that Julian is able to make it weapon-like in the circumstances he needs it to, of racking up like little pokes, I think is really, really smart because it means that if he's like, okay, now I want to shove it in the guy's eye socket, like maybe if you've made him so in pain and enraged that he's completely unable to defend himself. So it's an interesting topic though.
Yeah, to be honest, like even a spoon at that point would probably be able to kill the guy. So the firebrand very definitely does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I very much like the class to not be, as I said with the whole Taylor deal, to not be very strictly about killing. And the next item I'm probably gonna get for him is a banner, just because that feels appropriate and it's gonna be very fun on him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In that case, guys, I say we sign off. You both played absolutely beautifully. I really hope you enjoyed the mission and enjoyed seeing this little glimpse into the setting. Julian and then Reece, do you have any final thoughts? And if not, you can do your sign out.
It was a great mission. Thanks for hosting for us. A shame Tomasz couldn't be here, but other than that, everything was grand. So, yeah, thanks for hosting. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, very no thoughts had empty at this point. Yeah, I thank the two of you for being here. Thank you for hosting, Robbie. And bye from me as well.
Perfect. In that case, my name is Robbie Howell. Thank you all so much for watching, and ciao for now.